going to have a guest later on today. But the first thing that I wanted to get in was about the draft. This is not going to be the whole show. So let me go ahead on and tell you if you're going to do it. If you want to say something, you need to get it in now because I'm going to change the topic probably in the next hour. So 504-582-9422. Shedeur Sanders and his, round 5 being drafted? If you're going to talk about it, get it in now because we're going to change the topic next hour and we have a guest. So make sure you get it in now. What was the move that we saw with the NFL this past weekend with him not getting drafted in the first round? Was it political? Was it racial? Was it something that we don't know? What you think? Because none of us have the answer to that right now. So I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, this young man proved himself as one of the best quarterbacks in his league and did not get drafted until the 5th round? Was it because of who he is and what he is and who he related to? Was it the fact that they're saying that he had a bad interview with all these different NFL teams? Or was it his daddy? Because a lot of them are saying it's his daddy. I said to myself, oh boy, here we go. But didn't the same issue happen a couple of years ago? Well, I can say many years ago. When we saw Eli Manning say that he was not going to go to the San Diego Chargers, and nobody said Jack Doodoo. So, here we go. Now, I've seen plenty of folks with comments, including Stephen A. We saw commentary from Roland Martin. The ladies of The View sat down and talked about it this morning. We saw 3 newscasts where they all talked about it, not him going to the first round, not going in the second round, not going in the third round, and not going in the 4th round. In the 5th round, a quarterback that they projected to go in the top 10. Even your own Saints passed and said, let's get Tyler Shough. And he was the 40th overall pick. Most of you went on social media and went, who? What? Who? But then there was the conversation about this young man being overconfident, almost to the point where he was called arrogant. And then he told everybody, I prepared for this, right? I prepared for this, and I prepared for this most of my life. And I said to myself, is there a difference in your mind of arrogance and confidence? How thin a line is that? Is that a line or an excuse? And what you think? So here's who I talked to yesterday. I got a couple, you don't want me to call his name, but I got a couple of friends of mine that are professional coaches, professional football coaches. And I got a buddy of mine that is a former professional player. And he brought up two scenarios that I disagreed with the scenarios. And the reason I disagreed with those scenarios is because those scenarios don't work for me. Well, who they work for, G? Oh, no, they don't work for me. First scenario that I don't agree with is the fact that we know what overconfident is. But if you think you can do it, you know, why we want to kill somebody's confidence and say, well, he too overconfident. Too overconfident to do what? Play? Throw? Be drafted? Are we judging the man? Are we judging who he is and not judging his abilities? What are we judging? Does that go along with the family unit that we're trying to provide and say that this is what we need to do, we need to have, da-da-da-da? Then, okay, here's the other one that came out. The other one was, who y'all scared of? Y'all scared of him or something? What'd he do? He talked some junk to some folks in one of the games. They were talking junk to him. Do y'all know what they were saying to him while he was at Colorado? And I said to myself again, what y'all expect? Y'all want him to carry himself a certain way? But was this, and I think Stephen A. said it the best. He did say it the best. And actually, when he said, I have never in my lifetime seen NFL teams do this to a player. There was something that Shedeur Sanders said that I did not appreciate, in the fact that not that I didn't appreciate it, that I thought that he would, or somebody would correct him on. And I was like, what? He kept saying, well, what y'all expect? Y'all know my dad. What y'all expect? You know who my dad is? But just because they hated on him for being overconfident and what they called arrogance, don't necessarily mean that you were that way to me. And I said to myself, what about this young man that picked up the phone from Atlanta? His dad is one of the coaches for the Atlanta Falcons, and he did a call to him and said, they getting ready to call you. And it was a prank call. Is there punishment for that? Is that a joke that is to be taken lightly? Now, I understand that there's going to be an investigation, but that investigation to me was uncalled for. Well, not uncalled for, but should have been done. There should be some penalties with that, especially when he admitted that he did it, and his dad, because he went on the computer and found the telephone number of Shedeur Sanders' cell phone. All right, we'll take some of your telephone calls, 504-582-9422. We got to take a break here. We're going to take the break. We're going to come back, have some more conversation. I'm telling you, get them in now, because we're going to change it at 5 o'clock because we got a special guest coming in. I can't wait to tell you all about that. More in just a minute, y'all, right here on WBOK.
This is Monica Pierre along with Sally Ann Roberts Daybone, co-host of Your Power is On.
Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. for music that feeds the spirit. Get your Sunday on.
Right here on WBOK 1230 a.m. and WBOK1230.com, the station you listen to all day long.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Hi, this is Cary Grant. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events and sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join us every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Cary Show.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 12:30 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 12:30 a.m. Here we go. The reality check on WBOK 12:30 a.m.
All right, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. Gerard Stevens with you. It is Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend, man. It was hot out there, and you did the Jazz Fest thing. So now you're looking a little different. You got a suntan. You got a suntan. That's all right. Get that suntan while you can. So hope you enjoyed your time at the Jazz Fest. And it looks like this weekend coming is going to be, weather-wise, just as hot, maybe a little bit cooler, but Cindy not going to get a whole bunch of rain. Let's hope it stays that way. All right, let's go to the phone line. T. Hughes. Tyrone.
G.
What's going on with you?
Nothing much, man. Y'all still talking about this draft?
Bruh. Was that what it was?
That's what they called it. But you know what? I said the conspiracy theorist came out, but I really can't say it was a conspiracy theory, but it makes you think about it, because a guy came out and said, well, you know, how many times do people watch the second, third, fourth, fifth round of a draft?
Right.
But everybody was still watching until Shador got picked.
Right. Right. I thought to myself, I don't know what conspiracy of what though. What would the conspiracy be? To make you watch?
Well, that's what he was saying. Yeah, to get the ratings, to get more, you know, because typically after the first round, nobody's watching the draft.
Right.
Unless it's a family member or somebody you know.
Yeah, nobody's watching because they're like, "What? Who is that? Where? From where? Who?" Yeah, a lot of that was going on. But when we heard that he didn't go in the first round, okay, second round, I could see the second round. But when he didn't go in the second round and we got to the third, fourth, and the fifth round, I was like, man, I'm just hoping this young man get drafted.
I was hoping he wouldn't. I'm like, he'd have did better not getting drafted and going as a free agent, so that way he can go to a team he wanted to go to, who had a better situation. I really thought he was going. Everybody was talking about him coming to the Saints. I didn't want him to come to the Saints.
You did?
It would have been a waste. No, it would have been a waste of draft. I mean,
yeah, because we got what? We got 3 quarterbacks already, right?
Well, I'm just saying it would have been a waste of talent because he ain't gonna be able to help us. And none of these, and that's why I didn't think everybody was talking about. The one good thing I said when the wait a minute,
go back for a minute. What do you mean he wouldn't be able to help us?
He wouldn't be able to help us because he wouldn't have an offensive line. He wouldn't have skill position players. So his talent would be going to waste.
But they got some talent already. They got how many players they got? Got about 6 players.
We're rebuilding to get to that point. But this process to where we're going to need to be to have a quarterback like that to where we could say, okay, that's all we need to get us to the Super Bowl or get us to the playoff, that ain't there. That we ain't there yet. We got too many holes. We got too many holes to fill.
Yeah,
and that was the reason why when he said, okay, well, I want to build from inside out. Well, okay, I can go with that. You know, you first round, you pick the offensive tackle, quality offensive tackle. Okay, great. But then the second round, you come back and pick this kid who was a quarterback when you had another quarterback who was better than him if you were going to pick the quarterback. But again, you didn't need a quarterback at all in this draft because the quarterbacks you were going to have ain't going to help the team.
So that's why I'm saying, though, that Tyrone, that's why I'm saying, yeah, this conspiracy. You picked a less popular. Look at his stats. None of his
Oh
stats.
no! One of them, what the conspiracy, what the other guy was saying was just basically it had made people watch the TV. But no, they blackballed Shador for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
saying.
it wasn't 32 teams that passed on him. It was only 5 or 6 that needed a quarterback. So let's get that clarified. It wasn't 32 teams who passed on him. There only were 5 or 6 teams that needed a quarterback that passed on him that could have taken Shador because he was better than most of them.
But that's a third. Wait a minute. It was 5. It's how many teams? 34 teams. And you're telling me about 5 or 6 of them need a quarterback. His stats.
32 teams, 5 or 6 of them needed a quarterback. And Shador, keep in mind, and this is another thing people don't look at when they talk about, you got all these people, oh, he wasn't that good. Well, first of all, he had an extra year of eligibility. When guys get ready to leave early or give up their eligibility, they call the NFL advisory committee to find out what their draft status is. Shador's draft status was in the top 5 picks.
Right.
So you mean to tell me if the NFL advisory committee would have said, well, Shador, you're going to be a 3rd to 4th, 5th round pick, he was going to leave college?
And his NILs, was worth more than what he's going to get as a quarterback in the NFL this year.
Most likely. Right now, yeah.
His NIL is worth what, $4.2 million? And I think his status now with the NFL is what, $1.2 million?
Something like that, yeah. So so what I'm saying is, it wasn't to me. They were blackballing him because I think, and like I said, Deion had a lot to do with it because they didn't want him. They didn't want them. Let me say that dictating on how they were going to run the draft because Deion came out and said there's going to be certain teams we don't want him to go to.
But who else did that?
Several players did that. The Mannings did that.
The Mannings did it. And then nobody say Jack.
At all. Because, but the one thing that kills me about what they were saying about Shador is, first of all, he was entitled. I'm trying to figure out, what was he entitled? What gave you the impression that he was entitled? Or what are you saying he was entitled to?
Right.
Because to me, entitlement means you're getting something or you feel you deserve something you didn't earn.
Right.
And as far as his play, he earned everything that he got.
Yep.
And he was confident in doing it.
Yep.
But then you want to talk about entitlement. To me, entitlement is the majority of these NFL coaches out there. That's entitlement. Because they damn sure ain't earned their jobs.
Look at the defensive.
It was given to them.
Look at the defensive coach for Atlanta's son, and there's no punishment for what he did.
That was crazy. And then they first of all, social media is going. I knew eventually they were going to find out what would happen, but they really didn't have to because the fools posted it.
Right.
They posted it showing they got the phone number and they posted the video of them calling him. That was dumb in itself.
It was a prank, right?
Everybody want to be on social media, but then don't realize social media is gonna get you in trouble.
Yep. So, what'd you make out of this? You think he's gonna play with a chip on his shoulder?
He's always had a chip on his shoulder, but he was bred for this. That's the thing about it. I just don't like him going to Cleveland because, again, you go into a team that don't have much to make you successful. I think the ideal place for him to go would have been perfect for him would have been the Pittsburgh Steelers because you got a number 1 receiver in DK Metcalf.
Right.
You had receiving Pickens. You got a number 1 tight end, and you got a running game, and you got line to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been perfect for him to walk.
So
into.
you don't think it was right? You don't think that the Saints shouldn't have picked him up, especially when your number 1 quarterback is saying that he got
if you were gonna pick a quarterback, you should have picked Shador.
Right.
I'm saying I'm glad they didn't because it would have been a waste of talent. Because he wouldn't have been successful in this system right now because you still don't have the right guys around you. This guy that they picked, although he was worse stats than Shador, I can tell you now, he ain't going to be here 3 or 4 years from now.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Not from what I saw
I just
on
think
film.
that what we saw with Shador in the college realm, it's not only that he is good, which he is pretty, I would say that he's very accurate. That's number 1. But he also makes the players that are around him better. I mean, look, hell, his number one receiver was playing defense and offense in every snap of the ball, and he won the Heisman Trophy.
He did, but the thing about it, again, before the draft, you didn't hear none of that about Shedeur. It was Shedeur as a top three quarterback in the conference.
Right.
You know, and then people want to say, and everybody, what I get pissed off about is when you talk about evaluating a player, everybody wants to throw in stats. Stats don't make you evaluate what a player's performance is. You don't evaluate a player off of stats. You got to look at that player and say, hey, okay, he can do this, and this, and I'm watching him with this, and this. He can't do this, and this. But everybody wants to throw in stats. Oh, well, he wasn't that great. He only won 4 or 5 games. Oh, he wasn't that great against top 20 teams. Oh, what happens if he was in the SEC? Well, the thing about it is those stats that you're looking at or that you're throwing out to compare him is based off of other players being involved in doing their job.
Well, I look at it this way.
It's always going to be a team effort. A player on everybody else.
It's always going to be a team effort, but I got to look at Colorado in itself and saying that they won one game before Deion Sanders had put together that team, and his sons were part of that team. His oldest son was a great quarterback for that team because the Buffaloes sold out the stadium. How many games? At least 84?
And that was marketing with Deion, but he put a product on it. And that was another thing. Everybody like, well, if Deion wasn't his dad, he wouldn't have played. That's BS.
Yeah.
The kid was a good player.
So you think that basically they just hating on him? That they're hating on him? You think they're just hating on him?
Oh, when the draft started, yeah. Because again, you didn't hear none of that before.
Right.
Everything was he can do this, and this. He has all of the qualities of a pro quarterback. And if you're looking at him as a player, not the team, then yes, you saw that. But then everybody's like, well, he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that because of the team. Well, look at the team. The team was sorry, not him. And then they said, well, he played in the SEC. Well, I'm gonna tell you, if he played in the SEC, he would have had more stats and better stats, since that's what they want to look at, than he had at Colorado. Because you can't, if you're going to compare him to an SEC team, you can't put him on Colorado's team in the SEC. Put him on a team in the SEC that was going to give him protection, that was going to give him receivers, that was going to give him a running game. I compare him to Joe Burrow. I said, what is the difference of him coming out in the stuff that he has done compared to when Joe Burrow came out? Same quarterback, one black, one white. I ain't saying it's a racial thing. I'm just saying I'm looking at the comparison and the performance of what they did. Had the same type of accuracy, had the same type of mentality, knowledge-wise, of the game. Joe Burrow coming out is the same, and when he did, is the same thing as Shedeur Sanders. The problem is everybody's going to throw out, well, Joe Burrow won a national championship. Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase, Jordan Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Who Shedeur had?
Yeah,
one guy.
Right. They played both ends of the ball. On both sides.
If you take Shedeur Sanders and stick him in that offense that LSU had, he's gonna look just like Joe Burrow did.
Okay. All right, T. So let me get this because I got all my phones done jumped off the hook here. So let me get this from you too. What do you think is going to end up with Shedeur? What's going to happen?
I think he's going to have. I'm hoping if they can build an offense for him, he's going to do well. I mean, his performance, I'm not worried about. It's whether or not he's going to have the right fit, the right team to fit for his performance to be shown. He may not have. He may have at Cleveland. He may have the same team that he had at Colorado.
All right.
And that's the fact. That's why I said the Pittsburgh Steelers would have been the best place for him to go.
I think he's going to
get
traded.
Quick, G, before to go, I want to get back to real quick on the Saints. What I was saying is that the Saints said they wanted to build inside out. You took an offensive tackle. Okay, the next best thing for you to do, if you weren't going to take a running back, receiver, or defensive back at that second position was to go get you a better D. You got a D tackle in the third round. You could have got a better quality one in the second round. And what I'm saying is you didn't need that quarterback because that quarterback ain't going to help you right now.
Nope.
You still need offensive linemen. You still need – and all of these kids and all of these drafts are building your team for capable backups, which is what the Saints haven't had, and they've been injury-riddled over the last 3 or 4 years.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's true. And nothing but injuries. And don't forget,
Nothing but injuries. So
your
those big
starting
guys
quarterback
is what
is
you
injured
need
now.
to protect. You need big guys to protect your quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, T. Let me get these other calls, man. I got everybody holding on, but I appreciate the call and always your wisdom. Tyrone
All right,
Hughes,
thanks a lot.
y'all. I keep calling you T because I know you. So Tyrone Hughes, everybody. I'm sorry. Saints Hall of Famer, Tyrone Hughes. Give him his right. What'd you say, Winston? Winston? Did we lose you? Winston, call me back. What'd you say, Jerry?
Hey, how you doing, man? I got a little deep perspective on that.
I can't hear you. What did you say?
That guy. I said I got a pretty deep perspective on why that guy wasn't drafted. I think it was a movement. I think that's a show of solidarity with the rich and the famous, the people who want to put them back in their place. That's what I think, because I think there's a lot more stuff coming down the road. Shannon Sharp lost his job before him. Michael Irvin did, and Stephen A. will be on needles and pins sometime, even though he's a genius. I think they're going to go at it. Anything with a positive direction or that's independent in their thinking and they don't, do what they say. They want to say it there. They are on target. It's just slow coming. But the tail is picking it up because he ain't got but one job now. That is the FBI. They took that element away from him. You're going to see a lot of stuff coming in the future, man. Yeah, I think it was political, too. Just like I say, solidarity between the rich and boys up top. Put the people in their place. We all got to stick together. That's what I think it is. Now, if you want to know how I feel about Trumpocracy and how it's getting along, I can give you that little update.
That's not what we're talking about. So I appreciate it, though.
All right.
All right, thanks. All right, 504-582-9422 is the number, 504-582-9422. I was surprised that this was in your face. And I love what Tyrone said, but I got to look at it this way, too. A young man that does and achieves all the things that he has achieved. I'm talking about Shedeur. In his years at Jackson State, in his years at Colorado, and I'm talking from a black male perspective, and I want everybody to understand something. I can't be nobody that I'm not. So I got to talk about what I know. And what I know is being a black male that grew up without a father. That's me. Let me say that again, just in case y'all will think, oh, listen, there he go talking about himself. Yes, I am. I grew up without a father. There's an envy there that comes from anybody that can look at this situation where this man, I'm talking about Deion, stood with his sons, coached his sons, walked his sons on the field for senior day at Colorado, took them with him when he left Jackson State, and told folks on talk shows and anything else, every situation that my sons will be going through in this pick or this draft of the NFL is not going to be the best for my sons, which probably threw up a red flag to a lot of those owners and those folks that were doing the draft. Probably it created that blackball. But I don't blame him for wanting to protect his sons, wanting to make sure that they were going to be treated right. And if he knows the value of Shedeur, which he does, we're not talking about somebody that can't play. We're talking about somebody that can be a leader for the team. That's what I think. What you say, Mr. Elmore?
Hey, brother, I appreciate you came on. You're right on time with discussion because we're in the same ballpark of understanding. You know, what I have understood is it seemed like with society, and I'm being very honest, I'm being frank, white society, they envy and they don't really appreciate a man like yourself, a man like Dion, among other black men that are family men, fathers, husbands, parents, whatnot, who take care of their families because they want to stereotype us. So that it looks like it's a backlash when they can't stereotype a black man like Dion, so they use all kind of excuses. Look, let me tell you something, man. We don't live in a perfect world.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an older guy taught me. He said this to me. I don't know if anybody said this to you. As a man, Gerard, anybody have ever told you complicated?
Oh, I've been called some of everything. Still is.
No. Complicated. Being complicated is not a bad word.
No. No. Understand what I'm saying. I'm saying anybody that said that you're complicated. Well, if you say that I'm complicated, then I'm more than likely going to throw back to you because you're simple. And you don't understand.
I don't mean it like that. Okay, I'm considered complicated too. What I'm saying by complicated is I had a long talk with my son, and I said, son, one day you'll be a man, one day you'll be a father, one day you'll be an uncle, and when you realize like some things that your daddy may have done or dad may have said to raise you up the best way he felt he knew as a parent, you're gonna thank him because we don't live in a perfect world. None of us are holy so doubted we never made wrong choices. So that's why I say you're complicated. I appreciate you as a man, as I know you talking on the radio, Gerard, that you're very, very, not only a very intelligent guy, you talk like real men. You talk about real problems that men and women face. So you don't come in that holy endowed mentality way of thinking, even though you're a very religious guy. So that's why I appreciate you. That's why I talk to you, not always giving you kudos, which I do. I give you a lot. I always give you a kudos when I can. Sometimes I don't give you one, not because you don't deserve it, but I always give you kudos because you're a very respected guy, and you're a guy that can relate to a guy like myself, even though I'm older than you, brother.
Well, I appreciate that because I understand something about you too. Whether you wanted to hear this, and what I can tell you that I can always appreciate about you is the fact that I know that you're complicated too. So, no, hear me out on this because I mean this in the best way that I can put it. Usually, people that are called anything out of themselves, complicated, arrogant, they're usually a little bit smarter than an average person, or in the street realm, we can be called deeper. Oh, that's deep, or you deep. Because you have a mind of your own. And when I look at folks that call, especially black men, arrogant, overconfident, and maybe some other words that we discuss and we can't say on the radio. but I always look at that and say that, when do we start calling other folks, other than us, arrogant, overconfident? How are you overconfident? Are you trying to tell me I shouldn't be confident in something? And it's usually us. That's what I always understood. But listen, Mr. Elmore, I got to take my break. I appreciate you, sir.
And I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, brother.
All right, talk to you later. All right, more coming up, y'all. 504-582-9422. More coming up next.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks
and Kimber White Dupree
from the Front Porch.
Some combos are too good to miss. Now you can pull up a chair to the front porch anytime.
Just search WBOK Media and subscribe to the Front Porch Podcast.
Download, share, and hit us with a 5-star rating because New Orleans culture deserves to be heard loud and clear.
I'm ready. Let me just grab my bag.
Sweatpants, huh? Didn't know we were keeping it casual this month.
Yeah, I feel bloated every now and then.
You have to try new Align 3-in-1 Biotic Gummies. They have prebiotics to nourish good bacteria, probiotics to help relieve occasional bloating, and postbiotics for immune support.
All that in one gummy?
Yep. So no sweatpants next time?
Not anymore.
Align 3-in-1 Biotic Gummies for gut health support. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
WBOK.
Better pay attention.
Powered by Cox Business. Here we go. The reality check on WBOK 1230 AM.
All right, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. I'm in here gossiping. I'm having some conversation. Yes, indeed. I'm gonna go ahead on and say this is gonna be a good conversation here, because she early, but she here already. Let me be the first to say, change that shot. Change that shot. And let's say good afternoon and welcome to Miss Hunter. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous.
Welcome home.
I really feel that. Thank you so much.
What you done since you've been here? I know it got it.
Well,
probably started with food.
No, actually, I started with my talk at Xavier.
Really?
Yeah, it was really nice.
I thought you were going to have some food beforehand.
Yeah, but I did meet up with a group of students who came from the greater Boston area and from where I live now, Cambridge, Mass., on a historically black college tour. The group is called Citizens of the World. And I promised the founder, if they ever came to Xavier, I'd fly in and meet them here.
And you came.
And I came and met them here, so it was wonderful. I met them on campus.
I'm going to tell everybody to go to YouTube and watch your video, because this is the first, honestly, until Dr. Shepard told me, I'm going to give her much credit, I was like, who?
Yeah.
This is a worldwide story that everybody should know, because I'm going to call you one of the original apartheid fighters.
Well, I am. I really am. Myself and my late husband were the first black people to do anything in terms of a boycott about South Africa. First black workers, first black people, first Americans. The only other information we could trace is when a group of black students took over a university and they came out with guns.
Mm-hmm.
And one of their demands was about South Africa. But prior to that, not much information.
What made you at that time? I'm taking you back already here, because I need to make sure that everybody know at least how the story started.
Right, yes.
How did this life moment, because this is a life moment that you lived along with other folks, but you just said, bingo, here's the light bulb. Right. No. This is how this is going to go.
Right.
What made you take that stance?
Well, when I talk about my life, it's a history in grassroots organizing.
Mm-hmm.
But it also is about a strong family foundation, about a book, and about a teacher. I went to Xavier Prep High School, and in 10th grade, we had a rare white lay teacher. We had Blessed Sacrament nuns, who, of course, were majority white, and we had black male and female lay teachers. And in 10th grade, this Mr. Valder was my social studies teacher.
Okay.
And he introduced us to Cry to Beloved Country.
He introduced you to
Cry to Beloved Country by Alan Payton.
Okay.
A historic novel.
And I'm thinking to myself, as you said that, I'm like, I know this novel. But you had someone to say, okay, cool, I'm introducing you to this. How did that happen, though?
Well, I think for me, I probably saw my black self in print for the first time.
Okay.
The book has no pictures. Okay? But we lived under segregation, which was America's apartheid.
Mm-hmm.
We know enough now to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing what happens to blacks under apartheid moved me. And I think I was a bit of a nerd. I still have my 10th grade high school book. And then the inside cover is a quote from Cry to Beloved Country. And I used to quote that to people. There's a man lying in the grass. There's a storm gathering over his head. People pass by not knowing what's going to happen to him. On the bottom of that page is a quote from Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment, 1,000-page book. So the rest of the book has little things that a teenager would write. Love stories, friends, stuff. And so Mr. Valder would say, you all ought to get involved in the civil rights movement. And we lived under the so-called protective bubble of segregation.
Mm-hmm.
We had black everything in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And our parents told us, just put your nose down, be good, work twice as hard, and maybe, you can make something out of yourself, or you will make something out of yourself. Same thing with the nuns. Just work twice as hard, put the blinders on. And Mr. Valda said, look, the civil rights movement is going on right around you. So the most my friends and I would do is we'd go to the Dairy Queen, which had whites could sit inside, blacks had to order from the counter. We'd order our food, and when they say, here's your food, we said, well, we want to come inside. And then we run away. That was it.
And you ran it?
Of course, we better run away.
Y'all got jokes. How did Polaroid even get involved into where you started? I know I skipped over.
That's all right. So now, fast forward, I have graduated Corpus Christi. I'm at Xavier University. And graduating in 1968. So this is the beginning of the dawn of the so-called integration era. No computers. We got a recruitment guide, probably sent to the historically black colleges, where you'd write out your resume by hand, and you check off the companies you wanted sent to. So I had 3 interviews, one in the oil and gas industry in northern Louisiana. I went to an interview there. Another one in Hoffman LaRoche in New Jersey. And another one to Polaroid in Cambridge, Mass. Those trips to New Jersey and Cambridge, Mass were my first time on a plane.
Wow.
Okay. And so at Hoffman LaRoche, all of the people were white. The buildings were white. It's pharmaceutical. Okay. When I came to Polaroid, they showed me a diversity of people. They made a better offer. Cambridge was a little prettier than New Jersey was, and I took the job in Cambridge. So I started off as a research chemist in the color labs. Okay. And if you know anything about Polaroid film.
Now let's go back. Not the colored labs.
The color labs. Well, color, interesting enough, color plays a large part of my story. Because as a teenager crossing town to ride on a public service bus, we sat behind the colored sign.
Wow.
And we were forced to move if a white got on.
Wow.
Okay.
Same thing happened here, though. Same thing
no, I'm
here,
talking about in New
cars.
Orleans, just in New Orleans. So I'm saying.
Okay.
So that notion of colored and color has been a part of my entire life.
And I was thinking to myself, I said, would the kids of the day even be willing to do that?
No.
Because they're, I want to say privileged now, but I would say that maybe some do understand where they've come from, but a lot of them really don't.
Well, it's our fault. Our job is to teach our history, to share our history, to make sure it's as important as any other history, that is known and acknowledged.
Why have we dropped that? Why did we drop the ball?
Well, I think integration had its good and its bad. Because before integration, you had thousands of black teachers. And after integration, they were pushed out. The same thing with institutions, in terms of the black institutions that we had. Okay, so I think the notion of us not feeling a responsibility to pass on that history and trusting somebody else to do it.
Not going to do it.
Not going to do it.
And how does it make you feel when you hear the news of the day, when folks are saying, oh, yeah, we're getting rid of DEI. We're going to stop all the different programs that are geared to other ethnicities. All those colleges that are now taking the realm of, we're going to get rid of this, we're going to get rid of this, and even I was at Tulane and listening to a conversation about the African-American segment of that university. They're thinking about getting rid of it.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel to know the work that you've done? Because I'm going to get some more into it in just a bit, but as an activist, how does that make you feel? Because to me, it's like we went forward, but now all of us getting rolled back real quick.
Well, I think when you look at the fact that you have people who didn't vote
all the time,
who took that enfranchisement for granted, forgetting or not knowing that people here died for that, and that this is what we're experiencing now is a result of that lack of vote. It's a result of that lack of understanding. It's a result of enfranchising our children.
So it's our fault.
Yes and no, not in the total sense, but if we don't see and understand our agency, then it's going to be worse than it is now.
I haven't heard put it that way. Our agency.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, understanding that. I'll tell you what. We're going to get ready for. How long we got? We got a little while. Okay. I know that as I was talking to Dr. Shepard said that you were feet on the ground with everything that was happening out of South Africa with this apartheid movement, with Polaroid.
Right, absolutely.
But that wasn't the only corporation. Am I wrong in saying that?
Well, when we organized our international boycott, when more than 350 corporations were doing business in South Africa.
Right.
Many of whom were doing business in Nazi Germany. Okay?
Just as bad or worse.
Just as bad. Okay? And when you understand that the move to get rid of DEI and all these things come from a notion of understanding two things: population registration and control, and fascism. Because that's when you have.
But that didn't change though, from then to now.
Well, if we talk about America's apartheid, what's changed from then to now?
Nothing.
Well, a certain level,
maybe just
a certain level of enfranchisement.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But not for everybody.
Right.
Okay, so when you talk about what was the motivation, my mother said 2 wrongs don't make a right. Dr. King said we're not free unless everybody's free.
Right.
Okay. And the notion, again, that we have some agency. So when you talk about DEI, when you talk about the kind of regressive policies, when you talk about taking away habeas corpus, when you talk about taking the right of free speech away,
all those things
affect everybody. That's not just about black people. That's not just about immigrants, but they're a target to make it
And I think
possible.
that a lot of the other ethnicities are finding out because they may have thought that it was just going to be us.
When people say, well, how do you feel? Well, I've been black for a long time.
I broke up this way.
Okay. And so I've understood it no matter what side of the spectrum I was on, economically. Okay. But I understood even with what advantages I had, I can't look around and see my brother suffering and think, oh, well, case closed.
So how do we not look at what you went through with those 350 organizations or private companies, Polaroid included, and not be able to take that same, I would say, playbook?
Well, when you talk about influence me, the other thing is the Montgomery boycott, the fact that the sacrifice of that community for almost an entire year, the togetherness, the support that they gave each other is what we need right now.
And all the temptations that came along with it.
Understanding what the problem or the enemy is.
Right. And understanding with the whole subscription of what we need to do.
I keep telling people I'm not buying the bricks for the prison they want to put me in. Okay? All right? I'm withholding my economic power.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Because what does the oligarchy and the corporations understand?
Yeah. Don't buy the bricks.
Money.
But don't buy the bricks, huh?
Well, I'm not participating in my own enslavement.
I love that. I'm going to use that.
Quote me anytime you will.
I just want you to know I'm going to use that later on. I ain't buying the bricks, yeah?
I'm buying them at all.
All right. We got to take a break. Here. We'll tell you. We'll come back. We'll have some more conversation. Dr. Shepard is going to join us in a little while. But right now, our guest, Ms. Carolyn Hunter, is here. And we are going to have more conversation in just a minute here. We'll take a break here and get into news, and we'll come right back.
From the campus of Xavier University, WBOK Go and Equity Media Station.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Senator Cory Booker and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who are both black, staged a 12-hour sit-in at the U.S. Capitol protesting Republican budget cuts they argue would slash aid programs and favor billionaires. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is investing $46 million to grow affordable housing, adding 6,000 new units with support services. He's also increasing funding for a tenant protection initiative. Items loaned to D.C.'s National Museum of African American History are being returned after President Trump's order targeting divisive exhibits. Reverend Amos Brown called the move downright dishonest and said there was no warning. And Bishop T.D. Jakes is stepping down from leadership at the Potter's House, handing it to his daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts, and her husband. After a heart attack last year, he'll focus on the T.D. Jakes Group and Foundation. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
we go. The Reality Check on WBOK 1230 AM.
All right, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. Our number 504-582-9422. That's 504-582-9422. Joining us in the conversation, she's here. Hello. Say that again.
Hello, hello.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Turn that down a little bit. There you go. All right, we've got her. Dr. Shepard is in the building.
Yes.
And our special guest who's going to be here for the next
hour.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I should just move out the way then. Let y'all have
No, you should be in it, G.
Because I told Miss Hunter, I said, I miss coming over there to hear your conversation with the students, but I wanted to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome home again.
Thank you so much.
For a lot of folks that are, and this is what we were having a conversation about, I told her, I said, how can we take your playbook and install it today? Does that make sense, though,
Absolutely.
when I asked that?
It was very easy.
All right, go ahead. You got a pen? I need to write this down.
You do need to write it down, G.
But do you see it? Here's the wheel. We've gone all the way around. We back at that 12 o'clock position to start all over again. Do you see that?
Oh, absolutely. I often wonder when history is made. Did my history start with Mr. Valder? Okay.
Your teacher.
The teacher.
Right.
And then here you go 10 years later, when faced by this challenge that we didn't back away from, we did the right thing. So I often say somebody else picked me out. This is not, I told the young people, I left Boston to go out, be wild and young and free. I did not go out to start an international boycott. I did not go out to have an FBI file and those other things that probably happen when you do the things I've done. Okay.
You started an international
movement.
Movement. Is that what we need now? Because it looks like to me that we have become the enemy to even our own folks that are in other countries that are supposed to be with us.
We're the ugly American right now.
We're the ugly American.
That's right.
That should be concerning to a lot of folks because it makes me concerned because if something happens to us, who's coming to our rescue?
Nobody.
Oh. All right, that's it. Thank you for coming. See you.
Nobody's coming if they look and see who's the source of all the trouble and the chaos.
Yeah.
And the name of the game is chaos. I say if 47 never read a book, he read The Third Reich. It's by his bed, the formation of the Third Reich. Because this is a playbook. In order to understand, I have to take you back. In order to understand apartheid, we have to go back and look at Nazi Germany.
That's the second time I heard you say Nazi Germany in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, well,
why so?
Because when we discovered that Polaroid was in South Africa, and we challenged Polaroid Corporation, they tried to shift the conversation from their participation in the National Population Identification and Registration Program to jobs. Well, a job in a concentration camp is a job in a concentration camp.
It's still in no matter how you look at it, it's still in a concentration camp.
Okay. So,
and you're not gonna be there forever. You ain't gonna retire.
No. You're just a work chattel. It's another form of the chattel slavery.
I want you to know that I'm taking that one too. Here, a job in a concentration camp is just a job in the concentration camp.
Yeah. So when you go back and you look at the laws of South Africa, you go back to Nazi Germany. Now, Polaroid was founded in 1937. Their first outlet was in South Africa in 1938. What was happening in the world in 1938?
Wasn't that World War II?
And who was in South Africa? Hitler sent his people to all the points of the world.
Right.
To the tip of South America. There are certain communities there still. To the tip of Africa. And to certain points.
Right.
So South Africa, the British were fighting the Nazis when they got to South Africa.
Right.
And some of those same corporations that were in Nazi Germany were in South Africa. But when you look at the theory of population registration and control, it starts with the Nazis. The Star of David, the tattoo, the number on the arm, okay? The creation of a problem, an other, okay? They started with the gays. the gypsies, the Jews. And Reverend Nimola said by the time they came for me, there was nobody left
Right.
to tell.
Right.
So when we did our deep history, when we discovered the idea of Polaroid, I remembered what Mr. Valda taught us in Cry to Beloved Country. But we went back and once we found that ID that said it had the other black colleague that in the shop with Ken, the photography group, but it had an African name. And it said Union of the Mines, Department of the Mines, Union of South Africa. So when we dealt with the realization that our labor was being used to oppress somebody, we went back, for people in my age group, to the library and got the encyclopedias and books and read about South Africa.
That's what I was going to ask you next, and that was, how did you realize, or what made you go, wait a minute, we need to check this out, because this does not suit, or something doesn't sound right.
Right. And so Polaroid is one of those companies where if you see the CEO, you say, oh, hey, Joe. Oh, hey, Caroline. So when we first discovered it, Ken would ask around, well, what's Polaroid doing in South Africa? Oh, they couldn't be in South Africa. I've been here 30 years. And then it got to be, well, it came up a couple of years ago. You have a job. That's 10,000 miles away. It's nothing to do.
What you worried about?
Thank you very much.
You get a check.
That's got nothing to do with you.
Right.
Okay. So we did our research. And we said we should do something. Period. That's all. It was a do something moment. So on a weekend, we went into a progressive newspaper, the Old Mole, because it was the height of the Vietnam protests. And we watched the students battle the police on the streets in Cambridge. Okay. So we went to the Old Mole, and we needed to borrow, not your generation, a mimeograph machine to make leaflets. No copiers, no computers, no cell phones. Okay. Real cameras, real film, and Polaroids.
Polaroid.
Okay? Polaroid's not a real camera, real film.
Right.
Okay. And we said we were going to make a leaflet, and it happened to be that the guy sitting in the corner typing was part of a group called the Africa Research Group that had been doing work publicizing the conflicts on the continent around rights and freedom. And we said we need to find a black South African. And he put us in touch with Chris Nteta, who at the end of his life was Reverend Dr. Chris Nteta, professor of African American Studies, a minister, Methodist minister, who was able to come to a rally and say yes, because Polaroid was creating this doubt. My photograph of my passbook was taken on a Polaroid camera.
When they said to you, because I know somebody had to come up to you and say, you're a troublemaker.
Yeah.
And if you don't watch out,
Oh, yeah.
you're going to be up out of here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
At some point in time.
Many times in my life. As a matter of fact, at one point, this is during the height of the boycott, we had a mailman. He just happened to be honest. He was white, but he was honest. And he told us, because I had a locked mailbox that only the mailman could get in, he said some guys in suits came to him and wanted to put something in my mail. And he refused. Okay? But I did eventually get, you're going to be allocated meat letter. And I was so terrorized, Ken destroyed that. I wish I had it, but yeah, we got it eventually.
Was that government folks in suits?
I'm sure.
So how does it feel? Because you only hear those, and I'm going to put you in that category then, you only hear those magnificent activists, those people that look at you, hear death or hear threats coming in both ears and still keep going.
Yeah.
So that puts you in that position to be one of our greats.
Oh.
And how did it make you feel at the time to know that you may be having the FBI, the CIA, and all the other little ABC letters that could be government officials coming to you and spying on you?
Oh, we knew it. And whenever I talked to Professor Shepard's, my niece, Professor Shepard's mother, was my best friend. So when we talk, you hear the click on the phone, the click on the phone.
They listening to you.
Oh, they listen to me. My brother was at St. Aug, and a rare white boy said, your sister can't keep doing that.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. They make it, trying to make it real.
So I got a question for you, though. Do you think they're still listening?
Always.
What, listening to everything you have?
Well, I don't know about everything I've had, but yeah. Especially, well, we're in a heightened situation, so I'm sure I never bothered to go and get my FBI file because when you could get it, they wanted your fingerprints.
Right.
Okay, and I'm going to be fingerprinted.
So how does it make you feel to be sitting down watching television and the current administration has Elon Musk standing up, giving the Heil Hitler?
It's recognizable.
Yeah, it's very
And if you understand how many whites are raised in South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
you understand where he's coming from. Why would he destroy USAID first?
Right. Right. That aid.
Okay.
Right.
Because that's a method of providing support and sustenance and maintaining a world peace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because what you've seen is preordained chaos. The thousands of people who've been fired. Everybody who's fired losing their health care.
Right.
When are those numbers going to show up in the unemployment statistics? And even though DEI is used as a ruse, you cannot convince me that the majority of people who have been fired are people of color or are black people. No.
Right.
And I would say that it was
They're probably less than what's the marginal percent?
13%.
Less than 1/10% of the.
but understand something. It's only 13% of people of color, African American folks,
Okay.
I'm saying, in the world, in the United States.
So now,
So-
the acceptable government norm would be for about 5 to 7%.
right. So now we're
With the exception
starting to
of the
see-
military, perhaps because of conscription, and because that's earned service.
But we're also seeing folks that have higher ranks in the military being fired,
Oh, absolutely,
told to retire.
absolutely. Because to get the complete fascist state, you need the centralized power, you need the corporate money, you need to turn the military against the people.
So make me understand this too. That this is your thoughts, or is there any research to show that this deportation that is going on now, and I think we even said this too, Doc, and that was we got to understand something, that we have a whole bunch of business that we're not gonna do. I'm not going out in no fields to pick your lettuce. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But if those folks that are coming from other countries to do it,
Who imported from other countries to do that work?
Yeah.
Not
Who
just
imported them?
not
Go
just
back,
coming.
go back.
Who imported them?
Imported.
Who imported
I have go to Martha's Vineyard.
Right.
And what you learn is that
I go.
the resort areas
Yes.
rely on I-20 visa people.
Yes.
And those in the resort areas up north, it's Jamaica, it's Barbados, there was a big flux of people from Brazil when the economy was different, and they go to Eastern Europe to get primarily whites, but down in Florida and other areas, Mar-a-Lago is Haitians. Okay, and Cubans. Okay, and then when you go to the Midwest, it's Mexicans. And Guatemalans and El Salvador, some to pick the crops.
Right.
And so farmers are going to lose.
Right.
Because they don't have those workers. The people on the Cape are like, we can't get our people in this year.
And then we wonder why the cost of groceries.
Well, as I
are gonna
said,
go up.
when you have preordained chaos to keep everybody, it's whack-a-mole. Okay? So that you don't know where to fixate, where to focus, where to get your breath.
Right.
So much chaos, you don't know what's the distraction and what's really real.
Well, what you should know is that you're losing your rights.
Right.
Okay.
Do folks realize that? though?
Well, when habeas is taken from anyone, then it's taken from all. And that's the right to be disappeared, as people have been disappeared.
So when you sit back, and I'm not saying that you're just sitting back, but when you sit back and you start looking at what's going on now, that's why one of my first questions to you was, what do you see now that you saw before? Is this all just a reoccurrence?
No. This is even more heinous.
More heinous.
More heinous and more calculated. Yeah. And
Because we sat down and read Project 2025.
Yeah.
And we didn't go through all 900 pages of it,
Right.
but we read a whole bunch of it and said, oh no. But there's a whole list of stuff that you can start checking off.
Right. That's been done already.
That's already been done.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just add to that there's a tracker there's an actual tracker. It's like called project2025tracker.com.
Mhm.
And it's them saying how much of their plan they've actually fulfilled.
Yeah.
And it's like it tells you what they've done,
And
what's
what's
in transit, right, and what they still hope to do. It's an active site.
Don't let me take over the conversation.
I want for you to
no,
take
no. I want you to jump in too, because I know this is dear to your heart. It's dear to mine too. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just looking at it and saying, thank God that you brought this up, because I was like, oh wow, can she come?
Absolutely. And I can Zoom anytime you want to continue the conversation.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll say, Auntie, before you came in, we've had some really good discussions, international discussions. Sometimes G don't even expect that he'll bring up a topic and then everyone just calls in.
Right.
And one of our big topics is Gaza, Palestine, and the genocide. When it was unfolding, we were covering it, and it was almost like a hot button issue. And so I know G didn't get a chance to ask, but you've told me before about the fact that you went to Palestine.
Right.
Could you maybe share a little bit more about that experience, and what do you think is like pressing that we should know, given what you've seen and where we are now?
Yeah, in 2019, I had the pleasure of joining an Eyewitness Palestine tour called the Olive Harvest Tour, organized by Jewish Voice for Peace. And it was 2 weeks to the Holy Land. We stayed in Holy Land Hotel. And then we visited Palestine. We visited olive farmers. We stayed overnight with olive farmers. We helped them harvest. And some of us, when we had a free day, went back and even volunteered with a Christian Palestinian who had a farm up in the hills who was under assault from settlers. And we visited all kinds of victims of apartheid. Okay, people have lost their sons, their daughters, Jewish activists, Jewish soldiers, Palestinian intellects. And it was a very enlightening tour, but it's also very painful for the victims to have to share their story over and over again. But it was a tremendous cross-cultural experience. And I will tell everyone, because I've been to South Africa as well, when everyone has guns, you don't feel safe.
No.
Okay? When soldiers are walking around with heavy artillery, you don't feel safe. When there are checkpoints everywhere and everything's being watched and monitored, you don't feel safe. When you see walls everywhere, you don't feel safe.
So everything you just said, though, is what we've been hearing for the last, 10 years? At least. Put the wall up.
Right.
One. We hear it from the the folks that want you to make sure you do have a gun.
Right.
Oh, don't mess up my rights.
Right.
I should be able to carry. Heck, Louisiana just got the right to carry without a permit.
There you go.
So everybody can carry a gun as long as you don't have a felony.
Mm-hmm. Well,
as long as you don't have a felony.
No, everybody can carry a gun. You understand?
Well,
because people are making them at home.
Right.
People are making them at home.
3D guns.
So yeah. Ghost guns. Yeah, no, it's but again, that's for what people want to see happen.
What did you see, and what was Polaroid's position toward you, your friendly activists that were with you? What was Polaroid's position when you said, we're not going to do this? This is not how we're going.
Right. Well, the first thing we did, we made the leaflet. We had a rally. And prior to that rally, Ken found out that Polaroid had removed, we were in a place called Technology Square, which is Polaroid's headquarters. And they had a circular driveway where cabs would sit. So we found out the night before that they removed the cab drivers, put in FBI agents. They were going to have snipers on the roof. And so we were going to have our rally in the open air. And instead of that, we moved it under trees. So we already knew how threatened corporations are when they get the truth back at them. But at the end of the rally, we had written up 3 demands. And because we were Polaroid employees, we put it on Polaroid stationery. So it was a memo from workers
on Polaroid paper.
Yeah, on station there with the two little googly eyes, absolutely.
I know they loved you. Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a memo from workers to the corporation,
right,
saying that we had learned that they were doing business in South Africa. And with the help of Chris Antetta, we drafted the demands. The first was that they simultaneously denounce apartheid here and in South Africa, because Chris had said the frequent activity was that American corporations would over here say, "Oh, apartheid's so bad," and go over there and make a deal. The second one is that they get out of South Africa immediately. And the third was that they turn over their profits earned in South Africa to recognize liberation groups that were fighting for their freedom.
Hold that thought. We're going to come back in just a minute, y'all. I'm going to take some telephone calls, too. 504-582-9422. There's more coming up next.
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat. Operation Hope founder and CEO John Hope Bryant took a big swing recently by meeting with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent at the White House to mark the beginning of Financial Literacy Month. The move is controversial because Bryant's supporters know his political views largely differ from that of the Trump White House. But in a conversation on Bloomberg, Bryant explained why he felt it was important to set aside politics.
If the president succeeds, we succeed. If the president fails, we fail. What's complicated about this? Nobody should be rooting for his failure. We should be trying to help him succeed. Which is exactly why I risked, pushback from my traditional community to go and have this meeting, which I thought was important on the first day of Financial Literacy Month.
Bryant says he's known Bessent for a long time and looks forward to working with him and the White House to help get financial tools to more people. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner. On the Black Business Beat.
New Orleans, are you ready? A fresh voice in the city is here, bringing you the beats, the culture, and the stories that matter. From local music and food to real talk on what's happening in the streets. We've got you covered. Stay tapped in. Follow us on all platforms at WBLK 1230 for the latest updates and exclusive content. Your city, your culture, your news. Don't just hear about it, be about it. Follow WBLK 1230 now.
NOLA Public Schools is excited for the rest of this 24-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars attend today, achieve tomorrow.
This summer, let your child's creativity shine at Camp Art, New Orleans' most vibrant, arts-driven camp experience for kids ages 4 to 12. Hosted by Beyond the Stage, Camp Art blends visual art, theater, music, dance, and creative writing with New Orleans history and culture. Plus, field trips, guest artists, and camper showcases. With full-day programming before and after care and sessions starting June 9th, it's the perfect fit for working parents. Fun, enriching, unforgettable. Register now at beyondthestagellc.com/campart and follow us on social media at Beyond the Stage LLC.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM. Here we go. The reality check on WBOK 1230 AM.
All right, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. Our number 504-582-9422. It is Monday, so she is in the house.
Hello, everyone.
Dr. Shepard is here, and we've got guests. You do the introductions.
Oh, we have a very important guest.
Lifelong.
A lifelong activist. Someone who helped to topple South African apartheid through divestment. Mrs. Caroline Hunter. Hey. Where's the bell? Hit the bell. You know I normally hit the bell.
I'm going to let you hit the bell today,
okay,
too. So that's your bell.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
See, she does that very well. So me, I would have been like, ding. That's it. First of all, thank you for taking time, because I know this is home for you.
That's
so
right.
Everybody and their mama trying to see you.
That's right.
So I thank you for taking some time and coming by and sharing with us, because folks need to hear what you went through, what other folks went through, what you represented, because this was the revolutionary movement.
Right.
and you're the co-chair.
Yes, I am.
It's the Polaroid Revolutionary
Workers Movement.
Workers Movement. What do you see in that seat? What do you see today that we need to be aware of?
Well, we're facing a serious threat to all our freedoms. Everything that we
all of them,
every single one of them. And with the kind of digital technology that exists, it's far more sophisticated than what Black South Africans had to face. It's as sophisticated as what Palestinians face now, because the physical ID card or physical document is now digitized. And the technology is far more sophisticated than it was 50 years ago, 55 years ago almost.
I'm a little bit thrown off the fact that by May, what is that, May 8th?
May 7th.
May 7th,
Yeah.
all of us got to be
your real ID.
Real ID.
If you want to get on the plane or go to a government building,
right, you got to have a real ID.
Got to have a real ID.
Well, I was going to say when Ms. Hunter came and spoke, we were talking also about the pass cards or the IDs for people in Palestine, and they're color coded based on where it is that you stay. They have different colors, and those people have to be in certain neighborhoods. They have to take certain roads. They have to be in certain schools. They said some people can't cross marry. Like if you have to marry within your identification card group, or else the family will be split. So we are talking about the very same. So when people say, "Oh, there's apartheid in Palestine," it's like, no, we're being very serious. It is apartheid. It's a racial regime of segregation by law.
I was listening to Dr. Tanishi when he was saying that he went to go visit.
Exactly.
And he was being shown around in Gaza by a Palestinian, and he had to ask, could he walk on a sidewalk? And I was saying to myself, he's showing you around.
Right.
Like, yeah, but he still had to ask, could he walk on the sidewalk? Because they know that they're not welcomed in certain parts. And I was like, wow, you would think that was, and I hate to put it this way, that they had to be talking about us instead of talking about the Palestinians. And then I met a young lady here, and she's a Palestinian. And I asked her about, would you like to care to share the story? You remember this? When I asked her, I said, could you come share your story? She was supposed to come. She did not. And she was telling me why she didn't come. And I was like, I can't say that on the air. And it was basically that she was worried more so about her family and other folks that are Palestinian because of death threats.
Yes.
Here. In New Orleans.
Yes.
Not overseas. Here. So how deep was that? You know, I'm thinking like, that's freedom of speech. She was like, not in our world.
Right.
I was like, wow. Then, of course, when I started talking about it, I became... I became, what did I become?
A target, America's Most Wanted on the radio station, WBOK's Most Wanted.
And then I was called, what was I called?
Anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic. Yeah. By a whole bunch of folks. And I mean, when we wanted to talk about this, Ms. Hunter, I got to the point where I was like, I didn't think that we were paying attention to it. You remember that?
Yeah.
I was like, well, the minute we brought it up, the phones just jumped off the hook for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
We didn't even say nothing. We just answered the phone and let folks talk.
I'm not surprised.
And I was, though, because and see, that's my level of thinking, to the point where I was like, okay, most of us are going to be paying attention to stuff that happens to us.
Right.
But it was not. This was folks that were paying attention, watching the news, and what was being told, they thought was more so half a story instead of the whole story. Because we were looking at the number of folks that were saying that 1,200 folks, and God knows I'm not speaking badly about our Jewish friends that got killed, but then I was hearing reports of 30,000 that got bombarded that were Palestinian. I'm like, that's not equal.
No.
It's
You know,
the
you want to
balance.
hear death of no one.
Right.
But I was saying to myself, well, how many Palestinians are going to die?
Right.
And maybe I was the only one at the time, along with you, that was asking. So when do we look at this and say, okay, and I'm trying to get I'm giving you the story, but I do want to hear your thoughts of this. How do we work this out? does this become a situation where somebody from each side needs to sit down and say, let's work this out?
Well, when you think about the fact that what is the point of a war?
Right.
Okay.
To seize territory and to make money.
Okay.
Right.
So when you have, we take us back to South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
We felt the South Africans were David fighting Goliath. We just tried to throw a stone to support. And what ended apartheid? Children throwing stones at tanks.
David and Goliath.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Children.
Right.
Throwing stones at tanks. And you had, you saw the movie, The Bottom Line. It features us. But what it goes in to show is as the conflict in South Africa got more regressive, I don't want to use the word regressive in any way, shape, or form, but as it got worse, the banks were about to call in their loans to South Africa. The solution to end apartheid was driven, unfortunately, not by the children throwing stones at tanks and getting massacred, but the fact that the banks were going to call in loans.
They were going to call them.
Right. It made it economically
Was
not
that for,
viable.
and
Not viable for South Africa to exist anymore.
Right.
And in this film, The Bottom Line, which is part of a series called Have You Heard from Johannesburg by Connie Fields, a Clarity Film. She has phenomenal footage because she goes and talks to government officials, post-apartheid, and business leaders. And the business leader said, listen, I'm a middle manager, but did you see my house? I got a long driveway.
Right.
I got a lavish spread.
A maid.
I got all kinds of maids. Okay. And I had a chance to go into one of those homes post-apartheid. You get inside the door, there's a metal grate. You go from the living room to the kitchen, there's a metal grate. You go from the kitchen to the bedroom, there's a metal grate. Because the whites knew how oppressive they were being. And they feared one day, the black majority.
Right.
Was going to come above and be above them?
Right.
Take over?
Right. Wouldn't you? They surround and outnumber you.
Wow.
And you being so oppressive. Mm-hmm.
So parallel that to any other apartheid situation.
But that's that's pretty much where we are now, though. But the only thing that's missing is the division of your home.
Right, but we don't have to look over there.
Right.
Right. We can look right
We
here.
can look right here.
Right.
Because the students who have been taken off the street have been taken off the street because they've said what I've been saying for 50 years.
Right.
Apartheid is wrong. Nothing more.
Right.
An editorial in a college newspaper. How inflammatory is that going to be?
And then deported.
Disappeared.
Okay, disappear.
You could call it deportation, but
I call
without
it
habeas,
right.
with habeas,
Right.
somebody has to tell me why I've been charged.
Right.
And I have a right.
And then I have the right to defend myself.
Defend myself. Sometimes I could even go get bail if I.
Right.
In the traditional sense of the court
But they
of law.
disappear. They're
No
taken
word,
in,
no-
shipped to
no
a
word, no-
deportation, and then
Across
in the
the
middle
country.
of the night,
Across the country.
you're
To
somewhere.
Louisiana.
Right.
Right here in Jenna. So we got to make sure we say that too. At the Jenna's ICE correction facility.
They've shown it on TV.
But where do we go from here with fighting for our rights, especially if I'm looking at your story, if I'm looking at the story of this revolutionary movement? I see it coming back around again, but are we paying attention?
Well, I don't know. Some people are, but
through your eyes, I'm looking through your eyes.
you
for a
know,
moment. What do you
Americans are known for sacrificing for other causes. Okay, but will they do it for themselves,
That's
for their
what my next
children, for
question
their?
was. What about
Will
ourselves?
they do it for themselves, for their children, for their grandchildren? We saw it in the election.
Mm-hmm.
Women voting against their self-interest.
Yeah.
Against the men and women voting against the self-interest of their children. Okay. And when you talk about, how things are framed, abortion rights are used as a cause, but it's not abortion rights. When you have women desperate to have babies dying to have a baby because of the constriction of maternal health.
Right.
So let's go back Nazi Germany. The big lie is recasting the truth, dismissing facts, locking up journalists, penalizing journalists, now locking up judges and lawyers.
I gotta say, you sure you're talking about back then, or you're not talking
Well,
about?
It's kind of like a time confusion.
Sound like we just taking notes from back then and bringing
Well,
them back now.
the
But
phrase
they
that someone
are.
said, if you don't learn history, sometimes you're doomed to
You'll
repeat it.
You repeat it again.
And that's also why she said if Trump didn't read anything, he read The Making of the Third Reich.
Certainly the Project 2025 people did.
Right. And so that's what I was going to say, because some of these political theorists that are animating him are people who actually, praise the Nazis. They think that they had great tactics and that those need to come back. That's why it's so symbolic that Elon Musk did that Nazi salute at the inauguration twice, because they are following that playbook. I think that people sometimes say fascist and apartheid and think that we're being hyperbolic, as opposed to, no, we mean exactly what it is that we're saying. These people are Nazis. They have always, praised them, studied them, brought their theories in. Curtis Yarren, who the vice president says that he loves his political work, he said we need a dictator, and that America is spoiled thinking that they should have a democracy, that we need a strong dictator to come in and make very harsh rules. And this is who the vice president says that he wants to follow politically, and says that he likes those theories. So it really is democracy under attack. And I would always, be critical of thinking like, oh, we have this fully functioning democracy beforehand.
Right.
I was already critical beforehand, but now it feels like we're fighting for democracy, because here you are thinking, here you are up against people who think that there should be a dictatorship and that there should be a racial privileged class.
We had probably maybe a month ago, an election here, and it was more so an election of amendments that the governor wanted to pass. And in my personal opinion, he's actually following behind Trump. And several of those amendments, well, it was 4 of them, but all 4 of them to me were to analyze and put into but to put in some perspective how we were going to take over what we needed to take over in his sense. Okay, so in other words, what it ended up doing was going to be, I think, detrimental to our race, and one of which was to put 17-year-olds. 16,
No, it didn't have a age limit. It was to increase the amount of crimes where a minor could be charged as an adult. And it didn't have an age limit. Normally they would say 15, 16. Right. It just said for a minor to be charged as an adult. What they were trying to do was to go back and rewrite the Louisiana Constitution. But in order for them to make the changes they wanted to, they had to bring it to a vote. So
and
that was
black
one.
people,
Did it pass?
No, because more black people went to vote this time than any other time. So in this area, look, the different areas of Louisiana, Shreveport, East Baton Rouge, Orleans Parish, and probably some other places like Laplace and those areas too, St. John the Baptist. African Americans went out and voted.
Good.
But I was like, is this what we have to do to scare you of what could happen to get you to vote, when all it is
they're not trying to scare us. They have a plan.
Oh yeah, they got a plan. But our folks got up, and I think the leadership, this time, as far as elected officials, churches, and some other organizations as well,
what was
understood
at stake.
the assignment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we should be doing that all the time.
Well, we'll have to do that all the time. And I go back to this. What is our agency? Our vote. And our economic power, our community power. That's our agency.
That's it. Nothing else comes into play.
That's it.
That's what we have.
If you look, as I go back to Montgomery, more than a year, black people did not buy, or they didn't just boycott the buses.
Right.
They withdrew the economic support for everything other than what the essentials were.
Right.
Okay, so to me that's important because before I heard you speak, when I had just watched the film, I thought, well, I had always heard that part of what you do is you shame the system. You make people embarrassed to support it. You make it so that people think, oh, this is so bad that they turn away from it. And I thought, I had the question when I was speaking to your brother and your sister. I said, well, how do we make the system ashamed? It seems like they have no shame.
It's not
right?
about shame.
And it's not about shame. It's about the economics.
About economics power. It's also the fact that, and this is hindsight, every boycott or every action like that is an education program. We essentially attune people to understand what apartheid was. And you do that by showing the human side of the tragedy. That's what happened when we go to Palestine. That's what happened when you take these trips for, because the goal of the Eyewitness Palestine group was to take people who are activists or interested to go and find out so they'll be motivated to come back and support the cause. And so that's what we did with Polaroid, okay? We let people know that if we were in South Africa, this might even be illegal because we're not even the same shade. Okay? She's too light to be in the room if we were in South Africa. Okay? And if the police came in here and my pass was by the door, I'm eligible for arrest. Fined, jail, whipped, disappeared, slip on a bar of soap. The majority of South Africans had been picked up for a pass violation.
Oh, wow.
You said about 80%.
Yeah.
Or the film said about 80%.
80%?
The majority. The majority of the majority.
That's unbelievable. Dang. Wait a minute. 80%?
Well, you know, that's like inside of that, the same city is slipping my mind, but it's one of those Black Lives Matter cities. About 90-something% of the people were wanted in connection for having some kind of like a warrant out for their arrest. It was like 90-something% of the city. Ferguson.
Yeah.
It was Ferguson. And so that's how in my mind, that's how I processed that. It's like 80% having some kind of penalty.
And those were the handcuffs. Polaroid was making the handcuffs. Okay? That's what the passbook was. Because your whole life is there. Well, now your whole life is here.
Right. So you got everything right
your
there.
Your life is here.
So and you don't know where that information is going.
Oh, it's anywhere it could be accessed.
Right.
Anybody
it's a database. And even now, because, you know, talking about times, but even now, the database that holds the Palestinian record, the database that holds terrorist information, all of that is shared globally. There's a form of like data imperialism that it is that's taking hold.
Well,
so.
now you want to go to Secretary of Health, who says we're going to keep a registry
right
of autistic people.
Right. You're talking about Kennedy.
And people have no value because they're autistic. I'm ashamed to even repeat that. Okay? But when you have these kind of plans, they're thrown out as theories. When you have these kind of plans, you can see the threat to everybody. And it's threatening people for something they have no control over. And yet we know about education and support and how, regardless of your condition, some of us believe you have human value and human capital.
But the education system is trying to be is in a certain situation now where we see the demise.
Well, I'm
of
back
the
to that
system.
preordained chaos. So that's all part of, it's in the plan, right? Y'all read it? Y'all read it?
That's in the plan.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
So the notion that, again, back to the playbook, the big lie, the target, okay, and mobilizing people to despise, hate the target, and put the Jews on the train.
Wow. Wow. We got to take a break. We'll take a break here. Our guest today, the world famous. I could be your hype man. I just want you to know.
Come on.
The world famous Caroline Hunter is in the building, y'all.
Yes.
We got more coming up, y'all. Everybody hold tight.
AURN News.
President Trump is back in the United States after attending the funeral of Pope Francis at the Vatican this weekend. Speaking to reporters Sunday on the tarmac at Morristown Municipal Airport, he shared new details about conversation he had with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump said Zelensky asked him for additional weapons to support Ukraine's defense. The former president also made headlines when he shifted blame for the loss of Crimea not toward Russia, but toward former President Obama.
Crimea was given away by Barack Hussein Obama and by Biden. That's 11 or 12 years ago. That's a long time ago. I don't know how you can bring up Crimea because that's been a long time. Nobody brought it up for 12 years, and now they bring it up now. So I tell them, you can maybe go back to Obama, ask them why they gave it up. They gave it up without a shot being fired, by the way.
For AURN News, I'm Jamie Jackson.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
As the French Quarter Festival was coming to a close, a 36-year-old man brazenly opened fire in front of New Orleans police officers, wounding 5 people. It is a horrifying reminder of how quickly joy and celebration can turn into chaos and fear. Now, what makes this incident even more disturbing is what it reveals about the law, or the lack of it. Earlier this year, you'll recall, the Louisiana State Legislature passed a law allowing permitless concealed carry. Now, that means anyone over 18 can legally carry a hidden firearm in public. No permit, no background check, no training required. Let that sink in. No authorization. No checking to see whether someone shouldn't have a gun. No training to make sure someone knows how to use a gun. Just a gun in their pocket, waistband, jacket, or on their ankle. Police are expected to manage crowded events, busy city streets, and tense situations without being able to question who's carrying a weapon until it's already too late. Their hands are tied, and we are left vulnerable. Any irresponsible ass with a gun is free to put your life and my life at risk. Now, this isn't about gun rights. It's about basic responsibility. Requiring permits and training isn't an infringement. Duh. It's just common sense. It protects the public, and it protects the officers who put their lives on the line every day. Now, if a man can open fire right in front of law enforcement during a festival, maybe it's time the state legislature admits this law needs a second look. This can't be about politics. This must be about public safety. It's time to give police a chance to protect us before lives are lost. This is Norman Robinson, Off the Top.
New Orleans never sleeps, and neither does WBOK. Now, every voice, every moment, and every show is in your pocket. Search WBOK Media wherever you get podcasts. Download, share, rate us 5 stars. Because when you support us, you amplify Black voices and the New Orleans culture.
Are you passionate about community safety and police accountability? Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Get the facts and stay informed. We're breaking down complex issues, highlighting community voices, and holding people behind the badge accountable. Join us for an informative hour every Friday at noon on WBOK. Your city, your police, your show. The Monitor's Mic.
Hi, this is Arnie Filko. Let's Elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events to sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join Carrie and I every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. on Elevated Conversations, The Arnie and Carrie Show. See you soon.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month by the community scientists at Rise St. James. This month, we spotlight phthalates, chemicals added to plastics, especially PVC, to make them more flexible and durable. But there's more. Research shows phthalates may disrupt hormones, affect reproductive health, and contribute to environmental pollution impacting our communities. Join us as we explore how these additives shape our everyday lives and the world around us. For more details, visit risestjames.org. Empower your knowledge with Rise.
Uptown, downtown, wherever you are, keep it locked in to WBOK.
Here we go. The reality check on WBOK 1230 AM.
All right, folks, welcome back. A few more minutes here. Dr. Shepard's in the building. We got
Hello, everyone.
You got guests coming up for the next hour too, then, right?
Yes, I do.
They're called students.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna give them some more credit?
Yeah. Of course. They already all have A's. So it's like, how do you get higher than the A that you have?
So you brought the A class with you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to bring your A game.
Yes.
And of course, we got the world I told you I'm going to be your hype man.
You can come. You can come. You can hype
the world famous one. From the revolutionary movement, Miss Caroline Hunter is in here. And thank you so much for spending some time with us. Let's go and take some telephone calls for you. We'll take Kevin. Kevin!
Hey, man, as always, man, it's a blessing to hear you guys on the radio talking about the subject you're talking about. I caught the tail end of, they was talking about a film that they were showing. Have you seen South Africa?
Have you heard from Johannesburg?
Have you heard from Johannesburg? Okay. Look, have you heard from, I got to remember that. Look, we keep talking about what other people are doing to us. Basically, it looked like look, I call this radio station all the time, and my story is always the same. If we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. If we don't come together and act like our history is not a living history every day on a good day, and just because it's past, just because we're not living each moment in the moment, doesn't change the moments that we live through. And
Kevin, can I say I agree with you? And so what's your solution?
The solution is this. We have to act like we've actually lived those moments and come together and have think tanks. Look, who's failing the community is the educated people. Look, to he who much is given,
always
much
says
is
this. He calls in and says...
I'm going to say I'm an educator, so I don't necessarily agree. But
you're talking about yourself. We got a whole lot of educated people.
Kevin, it's not going to be a debate. We're going to talk about what we can do collectively. And we're going to talk about. We're going to.
I'm trying to get to that. You asked me a question.
Okay.
And I'm trying to answer. I'm trying to give you the answer to that. The bottom line is this: you can't be what you have not seen. To he whom much is given, much is expected. If you have gotten this education, this is the ones who we should expect more from because they have more exposure and experience and understand how processes work.
Well,
okay?
you sound like you have a lot of ideas. I want to know, what are you doing to further the cause?
I'm on this conversation right here.
So are we?
Trying to get more.
We'd like to continue and further the conversation.
This is our problem. We're in competition with each other rather than this is what think tanks do. They sit down and have ideas.
Thank you, Kevin, for calling. You sound like a broken record as usual. Go ahead, G. Can we go to the next call? Thank you, Kevin.
All right, Kevin. Mr. Harrow. Mr. Harrow.
Hello?
Hey.
Yeah. I'm sitting here, Pacific Palisades, looking over the Pacific Ocean, listening to these intellects on the radio. And I say I should call this black station because I'm kind of black, okay? So anyway, and I think it's Miss Hunter saying Polaroid, 1937.
Well, Polaroid was formed in 1937. Their first outlet was in 1938. But I'm not an intellectual. I'm an activist, sir.
Okay. I was born in 37.
I was born in 46, so we're not too far apart. And we've seen a lot of the world, and hopefully we can share our wisdom and our experiences to the benefit of our community.
Okay, the last caller that called, he was on a track, and what black people need, and I've been black for a while, is number one, to respect each other. Number two is education. Here in Los Angeles, you won't find a Jewish kid that is trying to get an education. And I repeated over the radio forever that I have 5 nieces that have doctor in front of their name. One went through a Harvard Medical School, and we didn't have to pay one dime. So you get the kids, get the young people educated, and a good deal of it is over with. That's what black people need, is to find out and to know who they are. And what white so-called white people know about black people is that they are competitive. What am I saying? Okay, remember I'm 88, so don't hold anything against me. But what I'm saying is the white people feel inferior, not superior, to black people. And when they feel that they're losing out, racism is the thing that they use. Okay. The country was founded on racism, and black people don't understand, from my point of view, racism. And if they got rid of racism, they would not exist.
Okay.
Every field that they are in is they are not black people. What am I trying to say?
I don't know, Mr. Aaron, but I'm running out of time.
Yeah, you out of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Last call here. George.
Man, I am sitting here. Bruh, Ms. Hunter, thank God for you. And Dr. Shepard, you know I love you. Thank God for you. And G-Rod, G-Man Stevens, we know they always censoring your broadcast, bro. This ain't even nothing new. But what I would like to hear, Dr. Shepard, because you've crossed a plethora of information, what should we be looking for? If you can just take a couple of minutes of telling us what are we looking at? I think that's the confusion for even your last call-in. What is the confusion? What should we be looking at? That's all I wanted to ask you.
You're saying what resources should we be looking?
What black people should be thinking we looking at? We looking at the racism, we're looking at the hatred. Ain't none of that in the past. We live in it. What should we be looking at? We in living history right now.
All right, George.
But if you have a minute, you could. Did I make myself clear in what I'm asking you, Dr.
Yes,
Hunt?
I believe that you did. And I just want to say something that Ms. Hunter said. She said that right now we are watching our rights be stripped away in ways that we are unfamiliar with, and that we can look toward areas that have experienced some of the same thing, like South Africa, even all the way back to thinking about Jim Crow, that we are living some of those things now and more, because we're inside of a more digital, technologically driven world, which means that they have the ability to create all kinds of enclosures and cut you off from systems. And they just said that they deported a little girl who was a U.S. citizen.
2 years old.
She was 2 years old just yesterday or 2 days ago. And so that means that what it is that we're seeing is something a little bit familiar, but unlike what we've seen before, at least to this extent. And what Ms. Hunter said we need to then do, which means that it's coming from a seasoned activist, is that we then have to boycott. And I just want to say, because I might be showing my hand and yours, but to say that boycott everything, not just boycott Target, not just Walmart. What can you live without? Boycott more.
Yeah.
We have tremendous economic power and agency, and I'm not one to blame black people or anybody for their condition. Recognize what we're up against, but know that we have economic power, community power, and the ability to withdraw our economic forces from what is about to harm us.
Because I'm out of time, I want you to know that this is an open mic, and we love for you to be here, but of course we got phone systems too, so they work. So we can do this again.
Absolutely, my pleasure being here. Thank you so much for the honor.
You have a movie.
Yes, on May 19th, PBS American Experience is doing a documentary called Mr. Polaroid, and it features the activism of the Polaroid Revolutionary Workers Movement and our very successful boycott of getting Polaroid out of South Africa.
And that's May 19th.
May 19th.
On PBS.
PBS. Check your local stations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Come back.
Thank you.
I will.
All right. We're probably going to call you after the movie anyway. More coming up, folks. News is up next right here at WBOK.
Have you heard the secret of what New Orleans is talking about? I promise everything will be okay if you're listening here on the airwaves. It's that WBOK 12:30 a.m.
From the campus of Xavier University. WBOK Go and Equity Media Station.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Former Black Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms is running for Georgia governor in 2026. She filed campaign paperwork and plans a formal announcement soon. Bottoms, a former senior advisor to President Biden, led Atlanta from 2018 to 2022. The state trial of 3 former Memphis, Tennessee officers charged in a black man, Tyree Nichols' death, is underway. Prosecutors say the officers acted out of anger and showed jurors video of the killing. Defense attorneys also gave opening statements. The Louisiana Pardon Board denied clemency for Antoinette Frank, a black former New Orleans cop convicted in a 1995 triple murder. She remains the only woman on the state's death row. And President Trump is praising the Philadelphia Eagles during their White House visit after claiming the championship title during February's big game. Some players, including Jalen Hurts, skipped the event. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Here we go. The reality check on WBOK 12:30 a.m.
All right, folks, welcome back. Yes, indeed. Conversation very strong today. Ms. Doris. Ms. Doris? We missed her. I'm sorry, Ms. Doris. You can call us back. We want to thank Ms. Hunter for being here today, sharing with us. Don't forget, on May 19th on PBS, you can watch her story, watch the story of Polaroid and how the revolutionary movement took place. I'm telling y'all, we live in a time where it looks like it's not something new. It's just going back to what it used to be. And what do we do about it? Maybe we'll get the answer then. So that is on May 19th on PBS. For our folks here in New Orleans, I think that's WYES, Channel 12. We'll be able to check it out. Don't think it's over with, because it's not over with in the conversation pieces that we're having, because Dr. Shepard is getting ready to come back in. And she's bringing some of her guests. Her guests will be her students. So now what we're getting ready to hear is the mind of our young folks, because Ms. Hunter was actually the guest for Xavier University as she did a speech and did a movement with them, last Friday. We wanted everybody to come. I know some of you all are working during that time because it was at 12 noon. But what did these young folks get from it? And what do they think about the current situation? And what do they think about how the state, maybe even the city, state, and even the nation is going? Is it going in the right direction? Well, if you look at CBS just came out with a poll on the federal level for your president, and it does not appear that folks are saying that, we headed in the right direction. They think we're headed in the wrong direction. Are we? And what can we do about it? Now, I know everybody says, well, this is what I think. But what's the answer to that question. The number 504, and Miss Doris, you can call me back too. As a matter of fact, I think she's still here. She may be able to still hear you too if you want to talk to her. So Miss Doris, feel free. 504-582-9422 is the number. All right, coming up, our young folks are going to walk in. They coming in. They're going to sit down and have this conversation with us to make sure that this is something that is going to be very important to us. What does that mean? What does that mean? Is America, I'm not even going to say the city or the state right now, but we're going to include that and get your comments first. 504-582-9422. Are we headed in the right direction? And if not, do we have the leadership? Don't matter who we is. Could be the Democrats, could be black folk, could be other folks, could be the Palestinians, could be women, could be men. It don't matter. Do we have the folks that aren't scared to step up and lead the next movement? Who is that person? Is it you? Everybody just went, well, I don't know if I should call in on that one or not. Is it you? Could you lead the next movement? Who would it be? And how do you do it? Is it the economics? Is it your spirituality? Is it understanding who you are? Could you be intimidated? Yay and nay. I know that's a whole lot to grab. That's a whole lot to grab. Let me go back to Ms. Hunter saying what she said. She said, y'all understand something about the Montgomery boycott. It just wasn't about the bus system. Because if you go back during the day, and I'm going to use the boycott system that they used in Montgomery. Y'all remember when they said, hey, you can ride the bus, you can ride the bus, you can ride the bus. But if you were black and got on the bus and sat down in the front of the bus, and a white man, a white woman got on the bus, you had to get up and give that white person your seat. And they would not stop it, and they arrested folks. And I'm like, okay, well, let's look at it this way. If you don't do something else, if you don't step up, then would we be headed back to that system? No, of course not, man. I think folks today are underestimating the fact that we'll be in that system. How you doing? And being in that system, that ain't too many. That ain't too many days ago. That ain't too many years ago. That ain't too many to the point where you say, well, that didn't happen in my lifetime. It happened in mine. It happened in mine. So, of course, what we want to do, look at it and say, how do you fix it before it gets started? What you say, Pop Jones?
Thank you very much for taking my call, G-Man.
Yes, sir.
And your guest. The answer is, I've been saying this for a long time, very simple. We could have solved a lot of our problems yesterday.
What
is money? With your money. You see, we don't support one another.
Uh-huh.
See, I don't know whether it's jealousy, what it is. But I heard a lady, or the Oriental lady, she told a partner of mine that was renting a building from her. You know what she said? Your people don't have a money problem. Y'all have a spending problem. So see these buildings I got here? Your people have helped me to get these buildings. So it's not hard as we make it to be. Is that money? Rich man, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I've been on this planet a long time. The rich don't make the rich rich. it's the poor that make the rich rich.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that hard. It's not that hard to figure out, G-Man.
Mm-hmm. All right.
It's all about that dollar, man. That
So
money.
you think it's about us not putting our money together to do what we need to do, or
It's
or
a combination, yes.
Okay.
It's that, like, for instance, I've been in church all my life. Pay my tithes, do all that.
Mm-hmm.
And they got many churches in this city.
Right.
All over
on
the
every
country.
corner.
Just supposing we had banks, I had ways to put our money together, and we could do it very easily. So we blocking ourselves.
But I would say
So
too,
the
Pop. But you got to throw this into the combination. I'm gonna ask our young folks that are here in just a minute. I can classify y'all as young folks. I'm old enough to be y'all daddy, but I just don't agree.
Yes, you can classify us as young people. Yes, you can.
Did she say us?
Yes, I said us.
She said us.
Yes, you can.
And she said us.
Yes, I did.
But anyway, Pop, I'm looking around and saying to myself, how do you get opportunity? Is that a good word to use? Opportunity.
Well, I tell you what I've seen, G-Man. Every new thing come out, we buy it from the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Every new pair of shoes. I saw a child in a barber shop, couldn't walk. She was wearing a pair of shoes for $60. That just about everybody you see had those type of shoes. Every new thing come out. Our people gets it.
So we're consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hallelujah.
Yes, indeed.
Hallelujah.
All right, Pop. Let me talk to these young folks here real quick because I've seen the classification. I guess I'm the oldest person in the room right now.
Yes, indeed.
So I'm gonna take that. Don't ring that bell. Don't ring that bell. But I'm gonna see what they're gonna say about this as well. But thank you, sir.
All right.
All right. Let's introduce ourselves. Let's go around the table. Ladies first.
Okay. Oh.
Say your name and your classification
that
and your
microphone.
major.
Hi, I'm Bernard.
Yeah, give her that microphone. Cut that one off.
Okay. Hello, I'm Bernaya. I'm a freshman at Xavier University of Louisiana, and my major is neuroscience.
It's what?
Neuroscience.
Neuroscience. Oh, excuse me. Hello. Turn it.
My name is Caitlin. I'm a senior environmental studies student at Loyola University, and I've been working with these lovely young people to
Oh, you're just gonna rub it in, then? Huh? Introduce yourself, sir.
I'm DeMarcus Milton, public health sciences major and mass communication minor here at Xavier University of Louisiana.
Okay. Well, welcome, first of all. And looks like we are pretty well rounded. And Doc has been grooming me to get y'all in here to have conversation. But average age is, I want to ask everybody the age, but average age is what?
I'm 22.
21, 22?
I'm 18.
You're the baby of the bunch. That's all right. That's all right. Let me ask a question, and then I want you to jump in this too. As younger folks, I didn't say youngsters, but younger folks, in your lifetime, what's your activism? What are you seeing? What are you seeing now compared to back in the day? I don't know what back in the day would be 5, 6, 10 years ago. What are you seeing now? Are we headed in the right direction? Anybody want to jump in on that? Go ahead. We can't.
I'm gonna answer.
You getting it together. You getting it together. Go ahead.
As young people, are we
headed as a community, as a country? Are we headed in the right direction?
I think
that's a wide open question.
It is a wide open question.
So
it's very
you put
broad.
it in your own. Yeah, you put it in your own perspective.
I would say that probably half of us are, and then the other half are not. I think.
Please explain that.
I guess as far as like this past election that we've had, and just like half of the country just not being on the same page about everything. As a community, as a people, I'm not sure. I feel like there's a bit of a discourse and a divide almost sometimes, and I'm not sure how we move forward from that. But if anybody has different opinions, please.
I would definitely.
You can move that towards you too.
All right. I would definitely like to build off of what Kaylin just said. I'm a little 50-50 with it because some people are headed backwards and some people are headed in the right direction. Just because it's backwards, some people are headed backwards and some people are headed forwards. And just because it means it's backwards doesn't mean it's bad. As we seen before, in years before I was born, even before I was a thought, even when my parents was kids, we seen more unity than we have now. And a lot of people, it's like crabs in a barrel in today's society. A lot of people want to drag each other down because of their own personal experiences. I don't mean to get political or anything, but
get political, man. I love it.
Oh, I don't want to ruin my future, but
this is the place to be a little political. It's okay.
Okay, within
we want
thoughts,
that.
in my personal opinion, specifically for the African American men who did not support Kamala Harris, I think those African American men did not have a positive African American woman in their life, so they used their experience and put it to, a black woman can't run the country, buddy. What you and your mother has going on does not have anything to do with our country. That's how I feel. Personally, I have great black figures in my life, specifically women and men. So I enjoy black presence. I would not mind a woman and black president at that, because look at what we got now. Now everybody want to throw rocks and hide their hands, but just a couple of months ago you were slandering this black woman for being a black woman when you're a black man. I don't understand that. And we see brothers and sisters destroy each other daily, whether it's killing, whether it's through social media. We doing exactly what they want us to do. So we just following orders unintentionally.
So is that how you feel about youth activism, though?
Turn it down. Go ahead.
Well, with youth,
not all the way.
Oh,
not all the way down.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
With youth activism.
Go ahead.
All right, with youth activism, I could say there's a lot of it now, but it's not as split as we've seen before. Like back in the Gap, we had Black Panthers that were more seen, We still have Black Panthers, but now there are, Caucasian people who are in efforts with us now. Like, it's not towards one race. It's like, okay, I think that's because, we have so many different groups of people now. Like, whenever, we added on to the LGBTQ, and LGBTQIA plus people are not just Caucasians, are not just African Americans. So we have more unity when it comes to youth activism, but it's like the way we go about it is not how older people want seen, so they may not agree with it. But, it's always evolution of some type of sort when it comes to that communication.
Just to answer your first question.
Go ahead. Keep going.
I feel like we as a nation are not going in the wrong direction just because of the divide of the people who are in power, the people who have the power to say what we do as a country, the rules we set. And I feel like if there are people who are in position that are going the wrong way, but they have this power to continue to go the wrong way, there is stuff people who are going the right direction can do, but it's going to make it harder if it's being overpowered, if that makes sense.
So no checks and balances. Is that what you mean more so? They have the power to keep going in the wrong direction, but nobody's there to check them?
Yeah. And well, I feel like there are people who are trying to check them, but it's so many, like, even that, it's just overpowering people who are trying to check them. Or people are silenced. In a way, yeah, just people are silenced trying to.
All right, before we go on, let's take the break. We'll take the break here and we'll come back. T-Bone, hold on. We got more coming up in just a minute. Anybody can get in on a conversation at 504-582-9422. More coming up next right here.
Start your day off right.
Just getting your day started.
Early morning gospel on WBOK.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
Hey, New Orleans, look for important changes to your natural gas service. This summer, Delta Utilities takes over for Entergy Gas with a Louisiana-born, Louisiana-based approach to safe, clean, reliable natural gas. No interruptions or rate changes due to the transition, just dependable service and modernized technology to keep you running smoothly. Get to know us at deltautilities.com and stay tuned for more later this summer. Delta Utilities, focused on natural gas, committed to New Orleans.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM. The Reality Check on WBOK 1230 AM.
All right, folks, welcome back. Our number 504-582-9422. T-Bone, you've been holding. What you say?
Hey, good evening to all of y'all. G, I really appreciate the fact you have these young people on the program because they give a different perspective. Us old heads call in all the time, but rarely do we get this perspective. So I would be hard pressed if I didn't ask some of these questions to these young folks. So here's what I think. What happened with the election, especially what the young man just said, that one of the issues was that the Democratic Party did not cater to the issues that some of these young folk are concerned about. I remember seeing on the news several younger people concerned about the war with Hamas. And saying, okay, this is wrong, but I'm not going to vote for Biden because of this. So you're going to vote for Trump? No, I don't want to vote for either one of them. Okay, well, then that means that I'll go for Trump. Then you have the LGBTQ issues, which I'm pretty sure, without even seeing them, these younger folks are nodding to what I'm saying is really important to them, because they have more friends, more classmates that are dealing with these issues. You understand? I would be hard-pressed not to ask this of these young folks. How much have you looked at, observed, and studied your civil rights movement, your black history? The one young man that said something about the Black Panthers, he was on point. But he's also on point in saying that it's a 50-50 issue because you have more crabs in the bucket now. And when you look at what Pop was saying, it's also an economic issue. Because you see, if you look close enough at the civil rights movement, led by King, led by NAACP, SCLC, economics went into that. Economics was our shield and sword going through these issues. Because when we stood up as a race and we put a stop to their economic power, then it was like, wait, hold up. We can't be losing money. Those buses that Rosa Parks had to sit on the back of, they changed it. after we stopped catching that bus.
Okay, so what is your question?
Those cowardice, all those things.
So the question
When
is
we-
what? T-Bone, ask the question though, so he can answer your question. Because I think you just directed
well,
something
so my
to
question is this, and I really want to hear it. I'm on my phone. I'm not on the radio. I'm on my phone. I really want to hear the young folks say, when you were in school and you had to learn this history from stuff like Eyes on the Prize and all that stuff, how much did you believe, and I'm going to say it like that, how much did you believe these things took place with black folk? Because I've also come across young people that don't believe we suffered like this.
I don't think that is anything that you would get from these young people. I think they believe full force that what they've learned is what we've experienced. That would be a question for a different collective of kids, maybe.
Because my own son, who's about 30 years old, he was like, oh, Dad, that's not happening anymore. There's no racism like that. He was really in the dark, you know, and that really bothered me because we grew up with that history.
So is that the question?
We grew up knowing about that stuff, learning about that stuff, local activists.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you, if we can, go around the table so that he can hear both of you all three of you. I'm not sorry, and you knowing who you are and what you are, and because I think you described something that too, you probably be probably interested in hearing from an older guy. I ain't call you old, T-Bone, but an older guy.
No, that's all right. I'm an old head. I earned my right. I earned my right. I got gray hair in my beard. I ain't
Okay,
shaved.
hold on.
You might be.
Go ahead.
I can say that's a great question that you asked. As someone who's from a predominantly white area, I live in what was a sundown town. No, not in my PWI, predominantly white high school that I went to did we learn about that much stuff, but I believed every last bit of it simply because I had an older presence in my life who was my grandmother. When my mom went to Iraq, she made me read books on segregation or the civil rights movement. So those are my favorite topics when it comes to my academics. I always did like history. Dr. Shepard was my African American diasporic studies teacher, and I just loved that class. Out of all my lectures that I had, that was my favorite one. Even though we had to, write papers and all that, I just loved it, because it was natural instinct, because it was engraved in my brain at a young age.
Go ahead.
I guess I'll start by saying that even though I also went to predominantly white schools growing up, I still go to a predominantly white college at Loyola. I was lucky enough to have a really good education in stuff like that, and people who understood and taught us in a way to understand about social justice, about what they really went through and what they were trying to accomplish. I can't say that about everybody, obviously, but
sounds like to me you know who you are.
For sure.
Okay, so
Always.
and I'm not putting words in your mouth, I hope, because I noticed that you just start off your explanation to T-Bone of okay, I went to a predominantly white school, and I'm still going to one. But I was waiting for that other part to come out, but doesn't necessarily mean that I don't know who I am.
No, yeah, absolutely.
So would I be wrong in assuming that your parents made sure that you knew?
Always.
Okay. All right. That's what I was.
Always. I grew up with.
I put words in her mouth.
Yes. Yeah. No. I only grew up with.
Oh yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I grew up in many different places. I'm originally from Chicago. I was born there. I went to school there. I moved around. Like I lived in California, Las Vegas, Iowa, Wisconsin. The longest I've been has been in Las Vegas and Chicago. But I never felt like I lost a sense of who I was being a black woman. And I think the last time I was taught about anything black related history was in elementary school, and coming to the HBCU, I actually found a love for wanting to know more about my history, even with meeting Dr. Shepard and being in the South for the first time. This is my first time ever living in the South, and I plan to stay here. But just to say, I know who I am. Regardless of where I will end up or where I have been.
Dr. Shepard.
Yeah, I'm not about to go through that. What I am going to say, though, is kind of use this as a segue moment to say that these are the students who have come with me or have taken a course with me, courses and some additional stuff with me, to work with Malik Rahim, the Black Panther who's inside of our area, who has done a lifelong amount of accomplishments and is an activist, and they've helped to open up the community center. We have opened up a disaster and emergency response clinic inside of his community center. We have been doing disaster preparedness work inside of the Algiers community, and the community center that we have set up is providing direct services to people. They have Veterans for Peace inside. Malik Rahim is trying to get a elder like a senior center or senior services to operate from out of the building. He has a homeschool co-op. They are putting together business preparations for how to have a open air market over there. So I just want to say that this collective of students that you're talking to are ones that are about doing the work. And so I don't know if when G first asked them a question about activism, they realized that now they're activists, and that we've done some of that activist work inside of the community just using the class.
Oh, I can tell they realized it.
Right.
I wanted to make sure
And
that
I agree with that because see, the fact that you're trying to get involved with the community and do stuff with the community, that makes you an activist. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out there.
All right.
Being like Dr. King completely, or like Medgar Evers, or any of those other historical figures. It just means that you contribute your part, because everybody has a part to play. You know, whether you're writing an article, an op-ed that involves our issues, or you're donating to a community center, or you're doing other stuff. Because see, I've done my share too.
All right, T-Bone, let me get into the other conversation, brother. I appreciate the call.
All right, y'all. But it's very encouraging to hear this from these young people. I hope that they have continue on their bright futures.
Oh, thank you so much.
Peace.
All right, you wanted to talk to them about what they've learned too, about what?
Oh, well, we've done a lot of disaster preparedness work, and that would be stuff that we would be excited to talk about. And also, when I say that, I also want to say that we've done demonstrations, or we've done a workshop or a demonstration, and we've done a few presentations now around the city about this type of work. So the students would be able to tell you more about some of the things that we've done. We've also worked with several organizations inside of the city who also do disaster relief and mutual aid. So like the group Mutual Aid, we've worked with Footprint and Taproot and other organizations who even have given disaster services to North Carolina.
Okay.
So
Give us the details.
okay. I would like to pass it around to some of my students, and then I'll come back and clean it up. Okay, so what would you all say we've done?
Talk on the microphone.
One of the very encouraging things we've done was talk with the community lighthouse at St. Grace Methodist Church. I didn't know this was a resource for others post-hurricane season, and basically what they have is they have basically intermittent backup systems at the church. So when the power goes out within the specific neighborhood, they're able to provide food, insulin storage, or other medicine storage, etc. And they have about more than 100 solar panels on this one church, and that's we're hoping to possibly make the community center a community lighthouse as well. So
The it's been very good working with Malik Rahim. I've learned a lot. One thing that I mentioned at the capstone or my capstone presentation was how much I learned about outreach. I didn't really know how to like actually do any of that.
Outreach?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
You have like the vaguest idea, but he really knows how to do all of that. And so just getting that guidance from him was essential. And I'll take that with me forever.
One of the things that we've done that really sticks with me, honestly and truly, and catches my eye is when we all did our disaster demonstrations on being prepared, seeing folks that are, older than me and allowing them to learn from me shows me that the saying that you can learn anything from anyone is actually true, because some of those people thanked us afterwards and it was like, okay, I'm making a positive impact, no matter who I'm speaking to. And thanking Mr. Malik Rahim, like building off of what Caitlin said, it's like a big brother to me, uncle, whatever you want to call it, just a positive male figure in my life. And like in addition to my dad and others who's taught me some good life lessons, even when it comes to other things,
I got a question for you all. Y'all can go around. Did you know who he was? Did you know who Malik was?
I was notified by my grandmother and my godfather because my godfather is the pastor for the Imani Temple Church in Lafayette. So he knew they've partnered before. And when I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm working with Mr. Rahim. They was like, oh, really? He's a great man, just breaking it down to me.
To be completely honest, no.
You had no idea.
I'm from here, and I had no idea that when the opportunity came to me, I had to look up who he was and everything.
I did not, and honestly, I didn't know what a Black Panther was too. Sorry for my ignorance. I apologize. But that was I would say no. Yeah. I don't
and that was my question, but it was my question for a reason, because a lot of folks, and I think we even had that conversation about his significance during the time where we needed it the most. And that was, getting ready to be 20 years since Katrina. But he was a Black Panther before Katrina. And a lot of folks didn't know who Malik Rahim. And didn't you tell me, I think he got a presidential award as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's gotten a presidential award. He ran twice in the city for political office under the Green Party. He, like you said, he started Common Ground. He's done other types of prison activism. We think about Common Ground as having been rebuilding. They just helped to gut rebuild, set up health clinics. They had legal clinics, but they also started doing planting inside of the bayou. And so they were trying to help to restore Bayou Bienvenue. So we also took a trip out to Bayou Bienvenue so that they could see what the stakes were behind what it is that we're doing, because we are helping people to be disaster and emergency prepared, but also running out of the center, Malik has different environmental programs as well. So we want for them to be able to understand that if our environment is lacking, then that makes us prime for a major disaster. If the bayou doesn't have any cypress trees, there's no way that it can block wind or absorb enough of the storm surge so that all of that water then comes into the community. So we were trying to make sure that we linked, they said we went to the bayou, we did the disaster preparedness with different organizations, and I was about to add something else, but
there was a question that I had too that I wanted to throw into that, and understanding something with our young folks. And that is marginalized communities, like ours. Okay, I would say usually there was an old saying back in the day that it was during my time and probably the time before me, is that we usually lived on the other side of the tracks, and most of the time you knew that that was our community. But when we're marginalized, we start looking at some of the data of all of our. We got a data center here that analyzes all the different communities. And if you start looking at our communities, we know that we don't have hospitals. There are bigger areas like more folks like New Orleans East that does not have too many grocery stores. Then we start looking at those places in our community where we do have some type of store, and it's usually a convenience store that's not so convenient. It's gotten around the convenience of what you're supposed to have, fruits, vegetables, and all of those. Those are the things that need to be, have been put in perspective as far as you being able to open one, but the only thing that you see when you go into those stores, you see liquor, you see high sugar drinks, and the fruits and vegetables are usually the bananas sitting up there on the counter. And I was always wondering too, well, why don't we, and we're not the folks that usually own those buildings, and we're not running them. It's somebody else that has come to our communities to run them, and at a certain time of the night, when they close up, they pull down a little running board so you can't break into it or whatever, and they do nothing to help support those communities except take your money. And I'm trying to figure out, in that whole perspective, is how do we, in our sense, as young people, start to change that perspective? Does that make sense? Okay. Anybody want to tackle that one?
One of the things I noticed coming to Xavier is that we're really community based. Like every time there's a what's it called, Service Saturday, there's lots of ways to serve the communities, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why are we? Of course, there's a reason why we need to serve and volunteer, but working with Dr. Shepard and Malik Rahim, I started to notice why we need our students to go out into our communities and serve our communities. Is because, like you said, the marginalized, the way other people, they don't support these communities, and we have the power, the resources to go and do that, and the education to go and change that. And it really made me realize the importance of knowing how to serve marginalized communities, especially my people. And yeah.
So a question for you before we move on. So you said it helped you to know how to serve your people. What does that list like? If you're top 3 or 4, how do you serve your folks?
One thing was like our service learning. One thing last Friday, I mentioned how you have to be in the community itself to actually learn what that community needs. So getting out there, talking to the people in the community, like the demonstration presentation we did, that was a great way. So more presentations on, and people from that community actually came by, stopped by, talked to us, got to learn more about what we're doing. And that was in a way we can learn more about what that community needs, and that was disaster preparedness. Another way is just simply volunteering. I volunteer weekly at either a hospital or just community-based. Thirdly, another way I feel like we can learn is learning the history of New Orleans. Again, I'm not from the South. This is my first time living in the South, but something that helps me understand how to serve these communities is doing research in the communities. So why the communities are this way? Why is it a big divide amongst the West Bank and East New Orleans?
I'd like to just add and say that when we did our demonstration was outside. Like, our demonstration wasn't behind the walls of any place. It was outside. And so we were able to get people from off the streets, people who are passing by, people started rubbernecking to see what it is that's going on. And when we did that demonstration, then we also took a survey to figure out, well, how prepared are people? And when we asked folks, their general level of preparedness, do you feel prepared for disaster? Only 4 people said yes.
Yeah, we're still not prepared.
We're still not prepared. Yeah. And so it goes to show that's the need. And then I think the flip part is how to put people in touch with the resources they need then.
Yeah, that was one of the things, too, that I wanted to find out about. I'm going to come back to you all, too. I want to hear you all's answer to this question, okay? More coming up, y'all. We got to take a break.
Late nights are made for chillin', and you can do just that every Sunday night at 10 p.m. as DJ Wick brings you The Love Zone. It's the perfect way to top off your weekend with your favorite old and new school ballads. So sit back, relax, and let DJ Wick take you to the Love Zone on WBOK and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
Are you passionate about community safety and police accountability? Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Get the facts and stay informed. We're breaking down complex issues, highlighting community voices, and holding people behind the badge accountable. Join us for an informative hour every Friday at noon on WBOK. Your city, your police, your show. The Monitor's Mic.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 12:30 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Do you know what United Way can do for you and your community? Find out by listening to United Way and You every Thursday at noon on WBOK 1230. United Way continues to fight for the most vulnerable members of the community. Find out how this Thursday and every Thursday at noon.
New Orleans, if you know a young adult or you are a young adult, listen up. This is your chance to level up your future.
Job One's Young Adult Career Expo is going down April 16th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 1307 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard.
Put on your best outfit, grab your resume, and meet employers from across the city.
Some of them might even hire you on the spot. This is your moment. Get ready with Job One.
Tell a teen, tell a cousin, tell everybody 16 and up. Register now at job1nola.org.
Paid for by the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act.
If someone asks,
Yeah!
let them know you listen to WBOK on WBOK 1230 AM.
All right, folks, welcome back. A few more minutes before we get out of here. Our conversation with our younger folks. I don't want to call y'all young folks. Y'all be getting all upset. Why you keep calling us young? Introduce yourself. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Brenaya.
Brenaya.
I'm DeMarcus.
DeMarcus.
And I'm Caitlin.
And Caitlin. Your turn.
And Dr. Shepard.
You new here, huh? You new? First of all, thank y'all for coming. And Doc, thank you for inviting them to be a part of the conversation because it's much needed. I think y'all need to come back more than once. Mm-hmm. Y'all come?
I can do this again. Yeah.
You do it again? Okay. DeMarcus.
Yeah, I can do it.
All right, man. You the man. You the man. You the man. You the man. We're going to call DeMarcus the Black Panther. Because I am a revolutionary. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of bad there, boy. You gotta hold up to that. You said something now. I wanted to go back to it, but I want to ask you this question because you said it and then you moved on, but it made me go, what? You said, I'm originally from a sundown town.
Yes.
You heard them stories?
My family isn't really from there, but I lived there. I grew up there.
Where?
Opelousas, Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
You ever did research on the Opelousas massacre?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I used to drive through there. Going to Alexandria. Was scared every time you saw a cop. I'm serious.
I believe you.
How was that? 86?
What you mean?
Highway 86?
Oh, no. It's, I-49.
Yeah, 49. Yeah. But anyway, my whole conversation with this is the preparedness, when we start talking about disaster preparedness. It also takes you back, though, Doc. If you're not prepared, then you're without nothing. You got people that are in need. Resources don't get to them. Can't take care of yourself. Don't have the water. How do you make sure that they prepared that, this happens? You got the resources. Anybody?
So, can you repeat that question again?
If this happens, how do you make sure that your general public, that your folks, that you're trying to make sure that they're prepared? How do you make sure that they know what to do?
So I could say, we were talking about before the disaster happens, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So the preparedness. If we know what disaster is coming, when it's gonna come, how it's gonna hit. First, like we were teaching people individuality. So it's certain time limits that government agencies such as FEMA would give. You know, they'll help you 3 days, 5 days. You know, having that individuality, knowing that you have a generator, knowing that you have extra food, not relying on anyone. Because, like, even tying in what you asked Bernaya earlier about how can you, you know, when it comes to volunteering, how can you be an activist? Like, showing different communities individualism, like having community gardens, because it's hard for people to be prepared for disaster when the city isn't itself. Bernaya said it multiple times because she goes over solar power. We have one of the oldest grids in the United States. So how can you rely on somebody who's shaky as it is? I'm not finna lean on someone who on crutches. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather stand on my own 2 feet.
I gotta steal that.
Hold on. I'm home. I copyright that. But yeah, teaching everybody individuality, protection, how to use solar panels, how to build on, how to connect it, how to maintain energy, how to store insulin. Things of that nature is like one of the best things you could do.
We're living in the South, Benaya. And one of the things that we got to understand where you are is you're probably in a part of the South where you've got more chemical companies, you've got more gasoline production, you've got so many different unnormal chemicals and all the rest of the stuff that's being produced down here. A natural disaster, or let's not even call it natural, let's say a disaster doesn't necessarily mean that we got a big hurricane, storm, or something coming. What about if there's a big explosion that just takes out a whole community because of the chemicals and stuff that's going to be released and stuff that's in the air?
So what's the direct question?
Yes.
What's the direct question?
What do we do?
What do we do?
Is that part of the natural disaster or disaster preparedness?
It is actually. DeMarcus always mentions like how we, just because it's a natural disaster, that's what we're doing. We honestly can use our tips for all types of disasters, like you said, an explosion, like a kidnapping, a robbery. Like, that's a disaster is happening. Even though it's not for everyone, it's happening in your home, in your community. So you need to be prepared. And one thing I believe in is failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So one thing I love to do.
Say that again.
And I use that for school, really. If I don't prepare for an exam, I'm prepared to, like, fail that exam. So that's why I, stole that quote. But failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So failing to outreach to these communities who need it most, even for, like, having them know, like, okay, you have this chemical plant in your neighborhood. You need to know what to do, where to go, who to ask for help if it just happens to explode or, like, get into your water, get into your food, which it has already. So we have to, we as people who know about these things, we have to educate them, we have to show them how and what to do when these things happen. And just like for hurricanes, we have to tell them, like, okay, hurricane season's coming up. You have to make sure you got your backup generator. If you don't have a backup generator, we have these numbers you can call, a community lighthouse you can go to, et cetera, et cetera.
DeMarcus, I think this is in your wheelhouse too. Was this in your wheelhouse?
Oh yes, sir.
You want to get it out?
Yeah,
I heard you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna build off of this real quick because as people who are educated and well known, we are in Cancer Alley, a 85-mile stretch up the Mississippi River. One thing I've demonstrated to people is personal and home protection, and a part of that is bugging in or bugging out, which means either have a bug out bag, important documents, food, things of that nature, so you can leave. Your best bet, especially in Louisiana, with majority of our supplies is coming from oil or some type of plant, is to bug out, get out of the state. Like, even when Hurricane Katrina came, I was 2 years old. A lot of people went to Houston. You always hear, oh yeah, I'm from New Orleans, but you're in Houston. How did you get here? How are you in Opelousas? Things of that nature. Go to Mississippi, or go north, go to Arkansas, go to Shreveport, go to Alexandria. So I say leave if you can.
Were 2? You were 2?
I was 2 years old.
You was 2 weeks, baby. I'm sorry.
I don't think I was born.
I don't know much to do about if a chemical plant explodes, but I'm an environmental studies major, and that's what we talk about that a lot, like the plants and the impact that it has on the surrounding communities. And I guess one big thing that I've learned about the plants is that a lot of the times they are put in and around marginalized communities largely on purpose. Like it's intentional. And so to that, I think it's important that everybody does stay prepared and get the correct information about what to do if something like that happens, or even leaks in the air. Having gas masks, having the correct equipment to be able to protect your body from chemicals and stuff like that. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, y'all come back again and let's talk some more. Okay?
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I would tell everyone in the city to make sure that they text NOLA Ready to the number 77295 so that they could be put up for city alerts if there's a disaster.
Very good. Thank y'all for being here. I hope y'all come back. You can come back. All right. Wait for you here. Dr. Shepherd.
Of course.
You want to wrap it up?
Thank you everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. Please make sure you're emergency prepared. And as always, thank you for listening to us on the Reality Check. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.
WBOK online at WBOK1230.com.